It's a Monday morning. Welcome to the news. My name is Pakwesi Shandoff. 5 people have reportedly been killed at Enchi, the capital of the Alwyn municipality in the Western North region. JoyNews understands that the incident happened after armed men attempted to attack the paramount chief of the area. Rival factions have made many attempts to remove the paramount chief since his installment in March 2019. The attackers were shot at after a confrontation with the guards stationed at the Enchi Palace, leaving 5 of them dead. Now, that is a statement from the police. We have that statement shortly. We'll bring you up to speed with that. The police restore come at Enchi and begin investigation into violent chieftaincy dispute. So let me now take you through the 5-pointer statement. It says the police have restored calm at Enchi in the Western North region after a violent chieftaincy dispute resulted in the death of 4 people and injury to 1 other person. Security has since been beefed up in the palace, the Enchi township and surrounding communities. Investigation is ongoing and crime scene experts and reinforcement teams have been dispatched from the national headquarters in Accra and surrounding police regions to support the Western North Regional Police Command. We wish to urge the general public, in this case, a revered chieftaincy institution, which is the embodiment of our customs, traditions and values, to use peaceful and due judicial process in resolving differences in order to avoid such needless deaths. And in conclusion, the statement said that we will surely get the perpetrators of this violent attack arrested to face justice. Now, that was signed by Grace Ansar Akrofi, an official of the Ghana Police Service. The minority in Parliament wants the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, to immediately resolve the impasse between the teacher unions and the Ghana Education Service. The teacher unions, I beg your pardon, are on strike protesting the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa as the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. They say Dr. Nkansa is a banker and not a professional teacher that's not qualified for the position. Speaking to journalists, the minority spokesperson on education, Peter Nochukoto, said the committee in Parliament would intervene if the minister is unable to get the teachers back into the classroom.
Let me begin by saying that some of us were not happy with the circumstances that surrounded the dismissal of the former Director General, that is Professor Opokwa Mankwa. We have worked with him and we know what he could do and what he was doing. But unfortunately, we are not the appointing authority. So they knew why they removed him. And why we're not happy was that this man had about a few months to go on retirement. So the best could have been ask him to go on retirement prior to retirement. But this was not done. So we are not quite happy with that. But with the appointment of the Director General, that is Dr. Eric Nkansa, as a committee or as an individual, we don't have a hand in it. Yeah, so it is solely the government. But the dimension it has taken now gives us a concern as far as teacher unions declaring a strike from today, 4th of November, yeah. So I would rather call on the Minister for Education to engage the teacher unions and explain to them the rationale behind the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa. So as a committee, we have decided that we will sit back now, watch events, and then where we realize that there is no solution, then we will come in. But we believe that the minister can do something about this as quickly as possible, because the strike action will not help anybody.
Ghana has been recognized globally for its carbon emission reduction efforts and is due to receive some $4 million in that regard. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Sambo Abujinapo, who made the This announcement at a pre-COP27 meeting in Accra said Ghana's efforts resulted in more than 900,000 tons of carbon emission reductions, which have been validated and verified.
A significant achievement, just in time for an announcement at COP27, is the achievement of emission reductions for the reporting period, June to December 2019, under the Ghana Cocoa Forest RED Plus program, signed with the Carbon Fund. 972,456 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emission reductions were recorded for the period accounting between June to December 2019, which have been validated and verified. Since this program is results-based, Ghana is set to receive 4,862,208 United States dollars in commensurate carbon payments, which will be distributed according to a highly consultative and transparent benefit sharing plan. Communities will realize the results of their immense contribution, which will boost their confidence in government's climate interventions. The need to scale up forests and other nature-based climate solutions is more important now than ever, particularly for our country, where most of our emissions come from agriculture, forests, and land use activities. We are therefore calling on all of you, representatives of governments, civil society organizations, diplomatic community, non-governmental organizations, cocoa companies, mining companies, the youth, women's groups, and members of the local community to rise up and rally behind us to promote forest and nature-based solutions to climate change. We look forward to an even greater participation and contribution to the global conference at Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, and let us all join hands in solidarity to make COP27 a great success, thereby contributing to the global efforts at halting climate change.
Now, some small and medium-scale enterprises in the Sagnerugu municipality of the Northern region are asking governments to increase duties on foreign goods. They say this will discourage foreign competitors from invading the Guinean market with their goods, which will subsequently boost the local market.
The SMEs made this call at a training of over 70 of them in the Sagnerugu municipality. The training was organized by the Ministry of Trade and Industry through the African Continental Free Trade Area Coordination Office in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme as part of its market expansion project. The project is aimed at harnessing the full benefit of the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is also to support women and youth-led businesses with export potential to take advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The participants were taken through market expansion, the African Continental Free Trade Area policy and action plan, data collection and certification. The Chief Executive Officer of Agape Moringa Processing and founder of Agape Share Cooperative, Esther Nambiri, said the increased duties on foreign goods is an initiative foreign countries have adopted to protect their local market.
For me, I'm very excited and very happy that my business is part of this project. What I would like after to do for SMEs is how they should protect we the Ghanaians. I've gone through a research and I noticed that there are some products that Ghanaians are having, and other countries are able to ship those products to Ghana to come and compete with us. If they can increase the import levy on some of the products so that it will give us advantage, we should have a competitive advantage over that product.
Chief Executive Officer of Queen Gulf Enterprise, Gafaratu Husseini, said the training will facilitate the export market for their businesses.
I'm into agro processing, such as dawa, sesame seed, cereals, and then some other legumes. Yeah, this AFTA program is very important to my business because all along I've been trying to do exports. So with this one, it will facilitate the export export market for me. And then I know that with export, I'll also earn foreign exchange for the country. And then that will help me to also employ more people so that those people that come out from school and then they don't have jobs, they can also get jobs to do. And that is a very good program.
Another businessman, Hamza Adam, commended the organizers for the initiative and called for more support for SMEs.
This program actually will help us to bring down most of our challenges, because most times when we have buyers within the African continent, how to connect ourselves with them is normally difficult for us. So through this after program, I think after this program, when we get registered with these after people, connecting ourselves to the African continent will be so easier for us.
Now, the Ghana Institute of Engineers has licensed and inducted 890 artisans under its craftsmen register in Takrady, Kumasi, Accra and Tamale. At the Kumasi Technical University, more than 200 artisans received certificates to mark the official and legal acceptance of beneficiaries of the professionalization of artisans project pioneered by the Engineering Council. There's more in this report.
Prof Arts, an initiative of Invest for Jobs of the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, is being implemented by the GIZ with support from the Ghana Institution of Engineers, Vodafone Ghana, Robert Bosch Ghana, Consolidated Bank Ghana, and UVEX Orbit Shoes. It is expected that the project will professionalize the services of 10,000 artisans in the construction sector in all the 16 regions of Ghana. John Duty is team lead, Invest for Jobs GIZ Ghana.
GIZ Ghana decided to partner with these key actors to implement this project because, funded by the German government, we are tasked to work with like-minded companies and actors in Ghana to support in the job creation agenda. And therefore, this professionalization of artisans program was carved to ensure that the artisans we have in Ghana are really professionalized so that they offer good services, and by so doing, able to secure more jobs, decent requests by clients to enhance their incomes and thereby expand their businesses and also employ more people.
President of the Ghana Institution of Engineers, Professor Charles Adams, was happy the certification will ensure customer-focused service delivery and high professionalism ethics in the engineering sector.
We also have another scheme where we are putting some of them into master craftsmen scheme. By that, what we're saying is that we will certify them, their workshops, and then we will give them some mentorship so that boys or girls who come to their shops to learn the trade will follow some more scheduled procedure or more scheduled arrangement, because we feel that for the country to develop, you need well professionalized, ethical, regulated, licensed craftsmen.
Some of the craftsmen spoke with JoyNews. Reporter for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
Now, the Catholic Diocesan Bishop of Konongo Mampon, Most Reverend Joseph Osaibonso, is worried about the high rate of immorality amongst the youth. He says it is very unpleasant to see Ghanaian youth engaging in acts that continuously affect the moral fiber of the society. He's therefore charged the Catholic youth to be shining examples of good Christian living. Bono East Regional Correspondent Anasabet has more in the following report.
Speaking at the 25th anniversary celebrations of the Jesus Mary Joseph School in the Atiba Mountain Municipality of the Bono East Region, Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Konongo Mampon, Most Reverend Joseph Osaibonso, decried the high level of immorality, particularly amongst the youth.
As you celebrate this Silver Jubilee, I throw a challenge to you as Catholic students to be shining examples of good Christian living. This is because we now live in a society in which there are hardly any moral values. We live in a society whose traditional way of life is being destroyed by pornographic videos and literature found on the social media. We live in a society in which casual sex is common, a society in which many girls and young women think they need 2 or 3 boyfriends to take care of their material needs. We live in a society in which drugs and strong drinks are gradually destroying the lives of many young people. These are some of the moral problems in our country today. I challenge you as Catholic youth to set the example of good Christian living.
Main celebrant and Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of the Chiman, Most Reverend Dominic Yeboanyako, on his part, admonished parents to contribute positively towards the upbringing of their wards by supporting the efforts of the school and government in providing guidance to their children.
My dear parents, the presence of this institution in the town is a great privilege and opportunity for you. Make good use of these opportunities to educate your children. In an era where government has done its part in ensuring free education, it is your duty to complement the efforts by the government by investing in your wards' education. Do not overburden your wards with loads of work at times when they need to study.
Superior General of the Jesus Mary Joseph Mission in Rome, Reverend Sister Inama Iruva, is hopeful that past and present pupils of the school would adhere to the ethical and moral standards of the Catholic Church to help sanitize the society.
The founding purpose of any Catholic institution is to carry on the mission of Jesus Christ, who himself is a teacher par excellence, teaching the ethical and moral standards of life. And every JMJ school is dedicated to bring these moral and divine values of love, joy, peace and fraternity. And this is the major role, the crucial role that is always played by the Catholic institutions.
Headmistress of the JMJ school, Reverend Sister Amala Maria, highlighted some challenges bedeviling the smooth running of the school.
The main challenge is for us the school fee. So ours is a private school. We are not getting any help from government or any other NGO or anything. So we are purely depend on all the development only by the school fee. So that is what, this is a challenge. Now you see, Ghana is very hot. The parents, they find it difficult to pay the school fees. So some they pay, some they may not pay. So that makes it very difficult for us to run the school.
Shariva appealed to government and the education ministry to help support the school with trained teachers to help accommodate more pupils in the school.
We will be happy if they are able to support us by giving the teachers, trained teachers. So that when we have the trained teachers, even the school fee we can bring it down. So then we can bring the school fee down so that many children can take part and it will be also helpful.
The Atibua Mountain JMJ school is for the past 25 years noted for discipline and academic excellence and has won series of awards including winning presidential awards on 2 occasions. Anna Sabit, JoyNews, Atibua.
Well, that's all for the bulletin. My name is Pakwesi Shandoff. For more, log on to www.joyonline.com, and I live in the company of Benjamin Akakpo and Mapito CBD. Stay.
here we are, and we were just admiring the background right behind us, and you caught us on air.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bafito CBD.
Benjamin Akakpo, why are you wearing black today?
You know, it's such a coincidence. Because I had no idea what you'd be rocking this morning.
I see.
I'm sure the people out there would be thinking maybe we were coordinating or something when we are totally innocent.
Very,
we didn't
very
plan
innocent.
this.
But I think it looks good on the television.
Oh yeah, look, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does, actually. Anyway, there's a whole lot to
Papers.
talk about this morning, but I like doing this nowadays whenever I'm joined by anyone, in-house or outside. I remember Kojo Brace when he joined me on Friday talking about the fact that owing to the prices of fuel, by the way, I filled my car tank with 800 CDs and 38 pesos on Thursday? Yeah, I think it was Thursday or Friday.
Welcome
that
to the
he
club.
over me.
Same. I also
He over me.
last week Wednesday. So I was like, my fuel was like my tank was really empty, like down, right? Last bar.
Yeah.
So I get to the fuel station because I feel like I'm the boss.
Yeah, you're the.
And I'm like, oh boss, just fill it up. He's filling.
You see the thing going.
Yeah, 450, and I'm like, okay, no wahala. 550, I'm like, okay, no wahala. 650. And I'm like, when it got to 750, I'm like, boss, when it gets to 800, stop it, okay? It is fine. Because
I actually had to do same because I mean the thing you want to fill because it's the best situation.
Yeah.
The combustion and everything, it prevents you from spending so much. But in trying to fill, you see the thing just going and the way 100 goes, between the time I switch off, they start and I get out of my car before you get to the Charlie. It has crossed 100. I'm like,
yeah. It's terrible. Oh, it is terrible. But
Kojo says he has to drive, get somewhere, board a train, and come this way.
What I think, it's a 50-50 thing. I think convenience is good. You don't have to stress about, driving, the traffic and all of that. You can do extra. And the cost. Yeah, mostly the cost. You can do whatever you need to do for because he told me that it takes about an hour. So in that hour, instead of being in traffic, focusing on the road, you can read, you can take, because waking up at dawn is also not easy. You can take a 30-minute nap while you're in the train.
Because driving is itself work.
Yeah.
Driving is work. And this is, one of those times where if we had an extensive train network at low cost, it would have been very effective for most people, but it is.
Also, even if our public transport system was working well, I think besides the train, the trotros, proper systems, the buses, I think it would have been so much better. And a lot of people have been calling for the buses to get on the road and actually help people try to save money.
Now that you bring it up, just to wrap the conversation, we've always spoken about, look at Metro Mass, look at the Ayalolo system.
Yeah.
From Nkrumah, we had quite, very good systems. In fact, the likes of Cecil Gabra will tell you that you knew that if it was 6:15, the bus would be there at 6:15.
Sharp.
It would get to your location at maybe 6:30.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to board back, it was there at a certain time, like you would find in Europe, in the United States, in other places. I don't know. What's your experience in South Africa when it comes to rail and when it comes to the bus systems?
So in 2010, prior to 2010, we built something called Gautrain. Right,
Yeah,
so that
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, so that is our bullet,
Your bullet train.
Our bullet trains. So those bullet trains have buses. Yeah, so certain places, like you said, 6 o'clock, you have a bus that goes to the Gautrain station, and you know that. So let's say if it takes 15 minutes to get to the train station, so 6 o'clock to 6:15. We have a bus, and then at 6:25 or 6:30, then the train will move. So everything works seamlessly. So I know when I was in university, that's what I would take. So I would go to the bus station, get my bus, and then I go to the Gautrain station, and everything is on time. It works with time. So you know that maybe 10 minutes for your train to move. So you have enough time from the station. Get your ticket if you need to get a ticket. Or we usually use cards, right? If you need to fill your card, it's a Monday morning, you need to fill your card
You need
for
to
the
recharge,
week.
right.
You have enough time, and then you go. So it's seamless. Even our bus system also works timing-wise. I think, so if we could maybe learn from...
There's something we could learn from our African neighbors.
Yeah.
But let's quickly bring in Suleimana Brahma, Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Suleimana, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ben and
Mapito.
Mapito.
We call her Maps for
short. Maps.
We call her Maps. She's our own in-house Google Maps.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Brima.
Good morning.
Right, so we'll just start off the conversation from the cost of fuel products and what this means if we had an extensive rail system, what this could have meant. Maybe just a minute of your thoughts on that, and then we get into the papers.
Well, it would have been the best thing to happen, and not even in the context of the fuel prices specifically, but generally in terms of traffic management, in terms of people having to manage their time well and all of that. Certainly, it would have been the best thing to happen. If you go to South Africa, even though, yes, it's not a perfect system, because the rail system works, sometimes it makes movement far easier. And then, of course, in Europe and North America, I mean, it's the cheapest and easiest means to get yourself from one place to the other. So it certainly would have been the best thing to happen if we had one in place.
Righto.
So let's get into the papers, and I'll start with the Republic Press. Three very interesting stories here, but before that, Mahama mourns word to Chairman of Osu Ampofo. We also have armed thugs storm police station to free detained suspects. And the big story here is that NPP rubbishes the Kumepreko demo, and Oforiatta not ready to go. That is on page 3. And another story on page 8 is Akufo-Addo government has created more jobs than any other in the Fourth Republic. That's according to the Vice President Dr. Baumia. All right, so let's go to the first story, the big story, which is Director of Communications for the New Patriotic Party, Richard Ahengba, has questioned the basis for the Kumepreko demonstration. According to him, the action which saw Ghanaians laments that government has not done enough to alleviate the plight of citizens in the struggling economy is a basis. It continues that says Saturday's protest saw a section of Ghanaians, civil society organizations and other activists join the demonstrators in the principal streets of Accra. But for Mr. Ahengba, the only justification he sees in the protest is the display of democracy and nothing beyond that. Other story on page 8, Akufo-Addo government has created more jobs than any other in the Fourth Republic on page 8, according to Dr. Baumia. And he says it is not only job creation, but also the government has built more schools, interchange, airports than any other government in the Fourth Republic. In a remark at the Hogbochocho Festival at Anlo in the Volta region on Saturday, November 5, he said, "We all know we're facing global economic crisis," which Togbe said the third referred to, "and this is a crisis that is being felt all over the world, and the cost of living accelerated across the globe." He continues to say that if you look at the cost of living as measured by the rate of inflation between 2019 and now, the rate of inflation has increased by 5-fold in Ghana. It has increased by 16-fold in Togo. It has increased by 11-fold in Senegal and has increased by 7-fold in Cote d'Ivoire and 8-fold in the United Kingdom. The increase in the cost of living has caused hardship not only in Ghana but many other countries. Those are the two big stories. And the last one is that Oforiatta is not ready to go. That story is on page 3. We know that Benjamin and Mr. Brima, that various sectors or various people have been asking for him to resign, but he says that aside an earlier claim by Mr. Oforiatta that asking him to resign is like telling a father to resign from his children because he changed his mind. The minister has stated that he is ready, everything possible to turn to the country's economy around as the future looks bright.
Okay, so just an interjection before you come in with Mr. Suleiman Abrahima.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share my thoughts. So you see, it's been bandied around 16 times when it comes to, the Ivory Coast. Mm-hmm. They mentioned a number of countries.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not correct. When you look at the data, as per what some economists have given us, it is not exactly the case. And then again, you even want to do a comparison. I was in Togo recently. Mm-hmm. Their fuel prices are hovering around something a little less than 10 cedis.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
They are pumping about $20 million every month to stabilize their economy.
Yeah.
They are putting the people first. You get it?
Okay.
So the shocks there are very different from what we are seeing here. So some of the comparisons that are made ought to be made in context.
Okay.
It's important that
Makes
we do
sense,
that.
yeah.
And again, it was interesting because as the vice president said these things at the Hogbe Chochoza, you would notice that he was heckled a lot. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But it's becoming a trend now, and I think should send a message. Suleimana, maybe you can bring him in
You
now.
can go ahead. Yeah. So we have 3 stories. Akufo-Addo government has created more jobs than any other in the Fourth Republic. The NPP rubbishes the Kumiperko demo, and Oforiatta not ready to go. Your thoughts on these 3 stories?
Well, a few things. One, we have a government that doesn't care about facts, and what it believes in is propaganda and PR. I have said this several times, that we have a government that believes that public relations can do any and everything in terms of governance. And it has consistently proven to be something that doesn't work, and yet the government still believes that it can survive on propaganda and public relations. And for me, it's not quite surprising that even in the engagement with IMF, the issues of facts are coming up as a matter of contention. 2-3 years ago, no, less than actually 2 years ago, we put out a fact-check report in which we indicated that the government of Ghana was presenting different data to the people of Ghana through Parliament, and then different data to IMF as far as our economy is concerned. And it continues to believe that it can, survive on PR, propaganda, putting out falsehood and all of that. And I say this because certainly what the president said in terms of the inflationary rates in the other countries are certainly non-factual and untenable. Even if it were the case, you would end up realizing that he's just basically putting out misleading facts. Because why? If a country has an inflation rate of, let's say, 2%, and then you say it has increased by 10-fold, what would that mean? That would be 20%. So, and if you were already at, let's say, 10% and you've increased by 5-folds, and then you are now at 50%, you want to compare yourself to a country that has, let's say, inflation of 20%. And beyond that, I'm saying that, look, what is even putting out in terms of 5-fold, 11-fold, 16-fold, to the extent of even saying that there are petrol queues in France, when he knows very well that the queues are as a result of, petroleum sector workers being on strike and not because of any economic crisis. So fundamental point is that the government does not believe in facts and does not believe in telling the people the truth. Now, the second point I want to make is that really, at this stage, it's just fair to conclude that President Akufo-Addo has been the worst president we've had, at least in my lifetime. I was growing up during the time of the Rawlings military era. And then I experienced him under civilian rule, President Kufuor, President Mills, President Mahama, and now him. And of course, I've read about previous governments that we've had in the history of our country. And I think that President Akufo-Addo has proven to be the worst president we've had, at least in post-independent Ghana. Look, you can look at state capture, and President Akufo-Addo has made us experience the worst form of state capture. You can look at nepotism, and we are experiencing the worst forms of nepotism under President Akufo-Addo. You can look at lack of policy credibility of a government, and we are experiencing the worst forms of it under President Akufo-Addo. You can look at the issue of policy failure, planting for food and jobs, one village, one dam, and all those, highfalutin policies. They've all failed. You can look at the issue of corruption, and President Akufo-Addo and the President Akufo-Addo, we are experiencing the worst forms of it. So I don't know what else it would be for one to conclude that this president is the worst president in our history. And surprisingly, look, even military regimes would sometimes listen to the call of their people. We have had this crisis on for a while now. The government continued to deceive itself and to deceive the people. When we said it was a crisis, it said, no, it's a challenge. We are not in a crisis. Then eventually they've admitted we are in a crisis. And the president still says, look, I have the best of people in charge. This is the only time in my life that I'm experiencing a president who would appoint somebody and cannot just remove them even if they are not performing. Like the Agric Minister, planting for food and jobs. It has been a catastrophic failure, and it is part of the reasons why we are where we are. food prices increasing. And yet we've pumped billions of cedis into the agri sector over the last 6 years. Nothing is happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have the worst form of leadership, this is what you would experience. They wouldn't listen to the people. And when even the finance minister has put us into this deep hole, the president says we should continue to allow him to dig us deeper. Until when, I don't know.
Until when, we don't know.
Well, there are issues obviously to discuss, even as we look forward to a budgetary, analysis or reading, because that has also been postponed on the back of not securing an IMF deal. But we're getting into those details later. This evening between 7 and 9 p.m., we'll be discussing on those with crack economists and other people in that space. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. It's 13 days to go when it comes to the countdown to World Cup 2022 in Qatar. There's also a picture there of Togbisri left welcoming Otumfuose to the second to the Hogbechocho Festival. Did you see his retinue?
I did.
Did you see the swag?
I saw the swag. I saw the colors. It was amazing. I wish I was there.
Yeah, I loved the way the Anglos and the Ashantis, they have quite a history. It's a rich tapestry of history dating back centuries.
I see.
And here they are doing it again. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, at Anglo Hogbechocho Festival, will curtail high food and fuel prices. The assures Ghanaians. There we go talking again. But usually my concern is, when do we walk the talk, or is it just about the talk? Publication of false news lands too in court. President attends World Leaders Summit of UN Climate Change in Egypt. We're talking about Sharm el-Sheikh. Really pertinent matters, especially as the World Bank has been telling us that if we don't get our climate, change fight right, the consequences could be dire for our country, not just our country, the continent and beyond. Protesters demonstrate in Accra against economic hardship in Kumipreku. Reloaded. I'll just take a quick look at some of those stories. I'll start from page 15. And the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has pleaded with Ghanaians to bear with the government as it takes steps to turn around the economic fortunes of the country. Though Dr. Bawumia admitted that things were tough, which the president had done in his address before, he said it would be wrong for the government's performance to be measured by post-COVID-19 economic difficulties. Quote, judging government by the development in the global space and not including the performance of the economy when we assumed office in 2017 to 2020 is an anticlimax. We all know that period gave us a strong economy. That's the first story. Then, protesters demonstrate in Accra against economic hardship in Kumipreku. Reloaded. Let me just take a little bit of that. And hundreds of Ghanaians on Saturday stormed the streets of Accra to protest the present economic hardships in the country and called for the resignation of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia. But just to add, this was led by private legal practitioner Martin Pebu, and the hashtag was Nana Must Go. But interestingly, if you listened to those who spoke, Mensa Thompson of ASEPA, they now mention the president, the vice president, the finance minister, and interestingly, they bring in the energy minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, and they say that, well, because in terms of energy, our fuel and others, we're struggling, and he has not done enough in that regard. Two quick stories for you to react to, Mr. Suleimane Brahima.
Well, certainly the events at Hogbechocho was really great to see those two eminent traditional leaders come together. To celebrate the event was something that was really heartwarming, and we would encourage our traditional leaders to do more now that our political leaders have proven to fail us. And look, when we talk about what is happening now, I like the fact that during the weekend's demonstration, there were talks about the fact that we need a new kind of leadership, and for me that was important because sometimes we may misconstrue what is happening to mean that therefore we had some sort of superior and far more better leadership under the NDC. I think that we experienced, of course, I wouldn't say as worse as it is now in terms of leadership, but it didn't mean that the Mahama administration was the best that we could have. And therefore, if we're talking about improving leadership in this country, it's not about saying, look, we want the kind of leadership we had under the Mahama regime. Of course, people change, and therefore I wouldn't want to believe that if President Mahama were to become president again, we would see the same things that he did. Now, in terms of the resignations, the demands for resignations, the president, the vice president, the finance minister, now they add the energy minister. I share a different opinion. I think the problem is President Akufo-Addo. If we had a good leader in him, things wouldn't be the way they are. I would doubt if, for example, Vice President Mahama were to become president today, he would keep all these people who have been, performed so abysmally, the agric minister, the finance minister, and, all the other ministers, the health minister, for example. So the president is President Akufo-Addo. And for me, it is, if we are demanding that someone must resign for his failure, it must be the president. To extend that to say, look, we want the president, the vice president, the finance minister, the energy minister to all resign at a go. I think that we will be inviting even more crisis on ourselves. The problem is President Akufo-Addo, who has been a major failure. Some of us had absolute confidence in him, but he's proving to be not the person that we all thought he would be, and actually proving the cynics right. Those who said, look, President Akufo-Addo will give you bitter leadership. President Akufo-Addo will be a failure. Those who said, look, I cannot sleep under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo, perhaps they knew what they were talking about, and Akufo-Addo is proving them right.
Let me just wrap with just some headlines and maybe one story you may quickly want to react to. Publication of false news lands 2 in court. They've been granted 20,000 Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties. There's also trainee teacher jailed 12 months for posing as BEC candidate. I found that one very interesting. Yeah. A trainee teacher being jailed for 12 months for posing as BEC candidate. Why is Kokonte Ghana's superfood? Check out the story on page 9 of the paper. But I just wanted to do this. In Sharm el-Sheikh, as we talk of climate change, our president is there. He'll be delivering 5 separate statements. Now, some of them include on what efforts Ghana has made in protecting her forest and oceans, and on sustainable energy and the energy transition. I found these 2 very interesting because protecting our forests and oceans, water bodies, and then the energy situation. But let's move on to other papers.
And you're looking at the Ghana situation.
The Ghana situation. I wonder what exactly he's going to say. I'm sorry I've got you in there.
It's actually very funny. Yes, Charlie. Okay, let's go to the publisher. And Ghana has only one elected president. Majority leader yells at the NDC MP. And story on page 3, Jinapo pushes climate change agenda. Don't judge us by prevailing economic situation. That's according to Dr. Baumea. But let's go to page 8. And there's a very interesting story there where fuel price is killing us. MP laments. Now, Member of Parliament for Astrojaman constituency in the Eastern region, Thomas Apim Nyako, has implored the leadership of Parliament to consider scheduling the House to sit for 2 days a week instead of 4 to spare members the cost of fueling their vehicles. It was that since Parliament resumed sitting 2 weeks ago, plenary has only been spending 2 hours or less each day and wondered if the days could not be reduced and the working hours extended to 6 or 8 hours, he said. So he said, and I quote, that the business for this particular meeting is the budget, and I observed that for the days, beg your pardon, that we've been here, sometimes we come in and in less than 2 hours we adjourn the next day. I remember when former President Mahama was also giving his lecture, he was, calling for some institutions to, try and work on the work from home type system. Yeah, which kind of makes sense because, if I don't need to be at work, but I can still do my job, then why don't I stay at home and, do my job? And a lot of people, when you look at research, they said that during the COVID time, productivity shot up while they worked from home. So maybe that is something that we can do. But the majority leader expressed regret and described the call as very unfortunate. And I've also noticed that when you try and suggest this working from home business, a lot of the business leaders or maybe the CEOs really shun upon this because they say that, okay, we give you the work from home, you won't really work well or your productivity will go down. But Mr. Brahma, what do you think about this whole working from home to make sure that, or to kind of, cushion employees?
Well, it is a measure that we are all exploring. During COVID, we had brief moments when we had to resort to working from home. I would say that it came with some bits of challenge, because then people would complain, well, my home internet was not working well, so I couldn't connect when you need them for a meeting, or something happened at home and things didn't go the way it went. Well, my experience during COVID was that it didn't work too well for us as an organization.
Okay.
And when we reconvened, for example, we all, at management level concluded that, look, if these things had continued for us to say, continue to work from home, we would have missed a lot of our targets. And so, yes, we can continue to explore, but the context in our country perhaps is not such that we can fully go work from home. Plus, look, the attitudes of people. To what extent would people really be genuine in delivering when you say work from home and there are no monitoring mechanisms? To what extent can we guarantee that indeed people will be by their desk and doing what they have to do, if they are home? So it's a challenge. It comes down to the question of infrastructure, the question of personal attitudes and personal commitments. So it's quite a difficult one. I just want to briefly also touch on the issue of climate change and the president's involvement in the ongoing summit. Yes, climate change is a critical thing that affects the future of all of us around. Unfortunately, it has also been one of the areas that the president speaks big and does little. In fact, we published a report on October 14 this year that indicated that whereas the president makes very, very great statements on, COP, all the COPs conferences that have been organized, all the climate conferences that have been organized, and says, some of the great things that world leaders will talk about. Surprisingly, since the president assumed office in 2017, the word climate change has not appeared in any of his State of the Nation's address. And for me, that is quite strange that for 5, 6 or so years, with close to 10 State of the Nation's addresses, the issue or the words climate change not appeared in any of the State of the Nation's address. And of course, we all know what is happening with Galamsey. The president put his presidency on the line, and it goes worse, and he's still in power and giving us worse forms of leadership.
Well, we'll see, Suleimana, what exactly he has to say. We have to go, but let's wrap with just these headlines from Mapito and I. The Finder says Dr. Baumia receives rousing welcome at Hogbechocho Festival, so different angles to the conversation.
Yeah.
And then Economy Times, job scarcity on the rise. Bank of Ghana likely to tighten policy rate further. Do you know what that would mean? A whole lot. Interest rates, policy rates, and then fuel prices to surge further as BDCs to sell at going exchange rate. I'm concerned about this one. Fuel prices to go where again?
Increase. Oh, I see.
Okay.
They said
let's draw the curtains on this because my temperature just went
up. All right. That's it for the newspaper review. Up next is sports.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Brahma, for
joining
the conversation.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Sports up next. Here we are again, Drive Safe coming your way from Top Tech Transport and Logistics. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. And of course, we all try to drive safe, but there are certain things, bits and pieces we don't know. And sometimes we take certain things for granted. We should actually pay attention to these so that we all can stay alive and fulfill our purpose. But right before we get into today's topic, let's check out just how much you know when it comes to our road signs. Here is today's So You Think You Know. All right, so that is today's quiz question. Do you think you know the answer? Well, stick around and find out at the end of today's Drive Safe segment. But today, we're going to be focusing on pedestrian safety. As a pedestrian, how do you stay safe? And we're going to be focusing on pedestrian crossings and then toucan and pelican crossings. What do they mean? Where can we find them? And how do we use them to stay safe? Cecil Gabra, CEO of Top Tech Transport and Logistics, joins me once more. Cecil? I'll be you nodding. All right, so let's get into it. Pedestrian safety. Let's look at these three aspects of pedestrian safety.
Okay, you know, when we talk about road safety, we are talking about the users. And then when we are driving our vehicles, we forget that tomorrow we'll park our vehicles and then walk and try to cross the road. Right, we have a lot of issues on people being knocked down. So pedestrian safety is really important. Where to cross the road, how to cross the road. Again, if you look at the LI, there's a law which says jaywalking. What is this about? Jaywalking talks about, I mean, it came from the US, and then there was this young man called Jay. Jay used to cross the road anyhow, and they'll pick him up to court, jail him. When he comes out, he doesn't care whether it's a highway. That's jaywalking. Jaywalking is also a traffic offense, that you must not cross the road anywhere else except where you have been allocated to cross the road. And when you're crossing the road, we have what we call the pelican crossing, we have the toucan crossing, we have the pedestrian crossing. We always hear zebra crossing, zebra crossing. It's just, you know, a term to say it's one of the pedestrian crossing, because we have other designs, but then this one is a zebra crossing, which we all know from class 1 to class 2. I learned this when back in those days when I was at your favorite school that you mentioned.
I will not mention it. You will not tempt me to mention it.
Christ the King, of course.
Oh, okay. You want to go there?
Yes.
All right.
So that's where I went to school. It's really a good school. There's no publicity for them. Right. So you need to learn how to cross the road. And the usual thing is that look for the pedestrian crossing, and then look left, look right, look left again. If your foot is on the pedestrian crossing, obviously it tells every user, every driver that, look, there's somebody who wants to cross, so you slow down. Before you slow down, you should always apply what we call the MSM rule in driving, which is mirror signaling and maneuvering, right? Look into your mirror, start slowing down. If it's safe for you to stop, you can stop. And there's
because if you're not careful, depending on the speed at which you're going, if there's a vehicle also moving at a certain pace, it might end up ramming into you.
Precisely, yes, precisely. So you have to apply the MSM rule in driving, okay? Mirror signaling, maneuvering. Right, so look into your mirror. If there's a need for you to bring out your left finger to ask the vehicles to slow down, you do it. You can even ask or add your hazard lights. Watch the truck drivers will say double trafficator. You know, just put on your hazard lights, and so the vehicle behind you will know that, oh, you are getting to a traffic hazard. So slow down, start slowing down. I'll say 100 meters to the action place, that's a pedestrian crossing. And then for the pedestrians, they should wait for all the vehicles to stop before they start crossing. Because if it's a dual carriage road, and that's where the problem lies, where those in the inner lane have stopped, and then the outer lane will not stop, and there will be a run over. Okay, so that's the first trick, number one. Now, what is pelican? What is toucan? I mean, there are two traffic lights. One has the countdown where it starts counting down to ask the vehicles first to go to amber, and then they go to stop. And then talking about traffic lights, right? Once you are driving and then you meet that traffic light, whether it is Tolkan, whether it is Pelican, you, the driver, what you must do is that there are signals to let you stop. As you drive through the green doesn't even mean you should go. Green means you may go if only the road is clear for you.
Right.
The amber that we see doesn't mean get ready. And I always, when somebody says get ready, I say get ready for what? Amber means automatically you should slow down and stop. Okay, because when you see the amber light, the next light that you see is the red light. And then this goes to all drivers that if you are driving and you see the traffic light, we know it. We say, when we were younger, we say if you are driving and you see the traffic light, there's something you should know. Red means you should stop, amber means you should get ready, green means you should go, but it says you may go. Right. So if you are crossing also, if the lights is the token crossing, that is where you have the countdown, where the lights,
so you'll be seeing a signal, 9, 8, 7,
precisely.
6. And it will tell you if you're a pedestrian, you know that for you, it's counting down, 9, 8, 7. If you're a driver, yours is also there. So you know which one.
Yes, that is it. And then you have the beeps. And then you have a final beep. When the final beep comes, look at the traffic light, and it shows green that you should go.
Right.
Okay, so that is the difference in traffic lights. And then you have one that you have to press.
Right.
When you press it,
those used to be in the system now.
Yes, yes. When you press it, you are commanding the traffic lights to stop. There's one on the Teshinungwa Highway where the little boys play with it and so on. With that also, you have to wait for the signal before you cross. Never run to cross the traffic light. Always walk, but don't use your phone whilst you are crossing the road. That's also one thing with pedestrian. Pedestrian safety is very good, and it's something that we always need to talk about.
And I think I'll just add this one. Don't be listening to loud music. Sometimes you block your ears with these big headphones and all of that. You can't hear anything, and you're crossing the road.
Very, very true. So stop listening to music, stop talking on your phone. It's even risky to talk on the phone whilst you are crossing the road. Remember, I call them the operation directors on the motorcycles. They can easily take your phone and then off they go. You cannot chase them. Right. Once we are talking about pedestrian, we should also talk about pedestrian safety and security. Remember to cross the road at the right place. Don't walk anywhere. When you are walking, walk and meet the oncoming vehicles. That is the trick. Don't walk for the vehicle behind, to see the vehicle behind you, right? Walk and see the vehicle rather in front, approaching you, and that's the best way to walk. This is also to our dear mothers that don't allow any child who is less than 12 years and below to walk alone, especially those who are 4 years of old. You need to accompany them to school and then get somebody to pick them. Children are really vulnerable when it comes to road crashes.
Thank you so much, Cecil. Thank you once more for the education. Today we've started with part 1 of pedestrian safety, and we've learned quite a lot about the pedestrian crossings, the toucan, the pelican, and all of that. Let's take a look at just how much you think you know. How much do you know? Did you get the answer to today's quiz question? Here's the answer. And now you actually know. This is how we draw the curtains on part 1 of pedestrian safety on Drive Safe with me, Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you once more for the opportunity to come your way.
Akufo-Addo, resign now. Resign now, because you
some protesters seated in the middle of the Professor Evans Atamils High Street chanting, "Nana must go." At another location, they dance to a song titled Sikam Pedede, loosely translated as "Money does not like noise." Around the ministry's enclave, I've met a young man in a wheelchair who is part of the protesters. He's in his mid-20s. He spoke to a translator and said life has become unbearable.
So he's saying that we are all in the economy, and for that matter, there's no discrimination. So all of us are affected by the system. And so anything going on wrong is affecting both abilities and disabilities.
All the people I met at the protests say they have been forced to make adjustments to their daily lifestyles in order to stay afloat. This lady, who is a teacher, says she now skips breakfast and does not eat anything for supper. She describes it as 010.
And we have to borrow in order to end the month. We borrow for transportation, we borrow to buy foodstuffs to feed ourselves and our families. And we are the head of the families. I eat once a day.
Eat once a day?
I eat once a day. So I eat in...
Is that what they call 100 or 001?
010.
So it means you skip breakfast, you eat lunch, and then you skip dinner?
Yes, please. Exactly.
010.
010. In order to be able to take care of my family. Because my family, they are depending on me. And I can't eat 3 times a day. So I have to sacrifice for them to also be able to...
The executive director of the Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, ASEPA, Mensa Thompson, like many of the demonstrators, wants the president, his vice, the finance minister, and the energy minister to resign over the worsening economic conditions.
The last person we want to add to the list of people who must step down is the energy minister. We live in a country where fuel has moved from 6 cedis per litre to 17 cedis for petrol and 24 cedis for diesel, and we are not calling for the head of the energy minister, Matthew Popo Prempe. The energy minister must go. He must go. The energy minister must go. Workers in my office are agitating for a salary increment because of high cost of transportation to work, and have not been able to add a penny to them because I can't afford it.
Security analyst Adib Sani, who took part in the protest, says the current economic situation can have dire consequences on Ghana's security.
That is that there's a direct correlation between economics and security. As a matter of fact, economics is security, and it's the most important aspect of security, which is human security. So if the people are not assured of basic necessities of life, if the youth are unemployed, are pushed into uncertainty, without options, they go into survival mode, and that would translate into fiscal insecurity.
2012 CPP presidential candidate Dr. Abu Sakara says the president's proposed solution during last Sunday's address would do little to bring the economy back on track.
What are you doing to increase production before you are restricting? What are you doing to reduce the transaction costs associated with production to make our system more competitive? All these issues are not short-term issues that you just take the decision this week and then by next week everything is fine. We know that is not the case. Today is not the day for all these technical details. Today is the day to say that change of government without change of government is fruitless. So we must have the change of governance that has to do with not only fundamental policy changes, but also constitutional changes that will bring us the kind of governance we need. That will be for the many and not the few.
Lead convener of Fix the Country, Oliver Bakavomo, also wants the president, his vice, and the finance minister to resign.
You know, that the problems that we are faced today and where we are now is as a result of a political class. That is a gulf between the political class and those who are governed. They do not listen. They are not held to any account. And we have always said that to structurally reform this country, we must have a conversation about our constitution. That conversation cannot be deferred. And even though people are here delivering that persons we have elected be held accountable, I think that it is also important that we engage in those medium-term and long-term conversations to avoid us being here. This is about the 17th time we are back at the IMF. We cannot continue like this.
Private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu, who organized the protest, had earlier stated he was expecting 100,000 people. He says he's happy with the numbers that he saw.
I say it's okay for starters. It's okay for starters.
If you check our history, even Kumi Prekun, they didn't get all the numbers on one day. They did Accra, they did Kumasi, and all the regions. That's a cumulative effect that you got. So this is a good launch, an extremely good launch.
Many of the people we've been speaking to have described this as a long walk to economic freedom. They say that they are hoping that the people in authority will actually consider some of the suggestions that they've made. The times are very difficult, and many of them have had to take very difficult decisions in order to stay afloat.
So my colleagues are covering the Kume Preko demonstration. Initially it was Samuel Kojo Brace, later Maxwell Agbagba, as you saw in your shot. So some Ghanaians protested the rising cost of living on Saturday. Hundreds of them poured onto the streets of Accra. And we had some prominent people as well featuring there. Dr. Abusa Kara Foster, Adib Sani, a security analyst, quite a number of prominent people hitting the streets. But how do we assess everything that they did? Is it reflective of everything that we're seeing, the generality, the thoughts of the generality of the people? Joining me in the studio currently, Paul Grave Bwachidankwa. He is government's spokesperson on governance and security. Of course, we'll also be joined by our other guests who will be taking this discussion from different angles, from the legal angle, from the socio-economic angle, and from security as well. The very person who was there yesterday, that is Saturday, Adib Sani. But let me come into the studio. Paul Grave, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Benjamin. It's good to be here.
It's been quite a while.
Indeed, indeed.
Has it been years since we last spoke?
I think so. Yes, I think it's been about 4 years since we last spoke.
Wow.
It means that we've been working.
We've been working.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, but it's good to be on your platform, and thank you really for the opportunity to be here to just engage the Ghanaian people. And a very good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Great. When you look at Ghana's economy currently, let's start from there because that was the basis for this entire demonstration. What do you see as Paul Grave? I don't know whether to ask you to detach yourself from your role as a government spokesperson. I feel that would be unfair because you are here speaking for government. But what do you see?
So generally, I think that it's a very difficult time for us as a government, and it's a very difficult time for the global world. You are aware that the world is not as it used to be, and the managers of the economy, especially the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is seeking to address these very teething challenges that encounters our economy. I agree with a number of the issues that have arisen as it relates to fuel hikes and as it relates to the depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the forex. But you are aware that our government has been working on these issues. The president addressed the nation about a week ago, laid out the entire economic strategy that we have as a government, also laid out very strongly and confidently our conversation with the IMF and how we are sure that before the year 2022 goes to a close, we would have reached an IMF agreement to be able to implement that. We are aware they are very challenging times. The president also pleaded very strongly with market people and traders. The president pleaded with the forex exchange people. The president pleaded with Ghanaian people who originally would go to the bank or go to the black market or go to the forex to change their Ghana cedis into forex, that if we depreciate our own Ghanaian cedi, it comes to affect all of us. And so clearly we appreciate the challenges. We agree and admit that we are in a crisis, but in the midst of the crisis, it's a collective decision that we need to all come on board to solve the issue. I followed the demonstration. I looked at the issues that they raised. I do not think that we have gotten to a stage where the president needs to be impeached, because the issues that are even enlisted in the Constitution, I'm not sure the president has faltered to any of them. The president is at post ensuring that we address the very teething plight of the Ghanaian people. And we assure the Ghanaian people that these challenges are being worked upon, for which reason everyone should exercise some restraint and patience for government.
So you talk about restraint and patience. There are two dynamics to this equation, because, of course, I'm looking at a story in the Ghanaian Times today talking about the publication of false news landing too in court when it comes to, dollar accounts and how some people supposedly, there was a run on some banks to do that. I was just sharing with you before we came on air, going to a shop and checking out their prices, 400 and something cedis for a product. When I returned from Lomé, 800 and something cedis, when they hadn't really changed stock. But they would also tell you that, listen, it's because if we're going to get new stock, this is the going price and we must sell it as such. But I'd like to find out. Mr. President said in that address, even as we talk about Kubik Preko, he said, we are in this together. Do you know, interestingly, I don't know whether you've watched on social media, a lot of people have come to me and said, no, we are not in this together. Your circumstances and mine are not the same. So let me ask you, Paul Grave, you heard KT Hammond when he said that he nearly fought with a fuel attendant. Are you feeling the pinch as well? Are you feeling the pinch like every Ghanaian?
I am very much feeling the pinch like every Ghanaian. I mean, I'm a citizen of this country. I go to the pump, I go to the market. I am very much feeling the pinch of it. And I'll tell you of a truth. Government has cut down expenditure. You are aware that government cut down expenditure when government held their cabinet retreat as at March.
Are you talking of the 30% expenditure cuts?
Salaries have been cut.
Some have said that is child's play.
Not at all. Not at all. I think that in this republic, there's not been any government, especially that has been plundered with such economic crisis that has cut down expenditure in terms of government expenditure by 30%.
Cause to do so, and people feel we can do a lot more.
There's actually never been any government as well that has also cut their salary for 30%, cut down 50% of fuel. There's not been any government that has cut down allowance in terms of per diems that people would have. There's not been any government at all. And so if you look at the issues that have arisen in a very short time, you can clearly and confidently say that we are all sharing the burden of the Ghanaian people, and this has never happened at all. We have put a moratorium on travels, except it is very important. As I speak to you, if you travel through the Pokwasi Road is being expanded and is being done very clearly. In the midst of these crises, young people are going to school, free SHS is happening. In the midst of these crises, government is seeking to continually industrialize the country. In the midst of these crises, hospitals are being built. Agenda 111 is ongoing. In the midst of these crises, MMDC are continually engaging their constituents. In the midst of these crises, government is tackling global issues. On the 1st of November, you are aware that Ghana sat at the UN Security Council, the president chaired, and in the midst of this crisis, the global world is looking at Ghana in the midst of all these challenges. When I speak to you, the team is in COP27 in Cairo just to be able to see how we can reduce our emission, and government is working. So I agree, it's a very, very difficult time. And in the midst of the difficulty, Ubuntu, Uguntu, Ugabantu, which is a Zulu proverb that says that you are who you are because of other people, you do not exist as an island. In the midst of this crisis, government has not shielded its responsibility to the Ghanaian people.
Let's quantify a bit. I like to do facts and figures. These 30% cuts, a lot of people, CSOs, economic experts have said, this is a drop in a bucket. You know, it's like a drop in the ocean. It means practically nothing. So let me ask you, you pose this question a lot to people and you don't get an answer. How much have we got so far from these savings that supposedly we're getting as a state? How much?
Very good question. So from the 1st of April to the end of December, it's estimated that we'll raise close to about 30 million Ghana cedis.
30 million Ghana.
Exactly. So you can do the permutation and divide it by 9. And in the address of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo last week, he stated that it's been extended to 2023. That's a hardship on every person that works for the government. The president has stated very confidently that if you come into his government to want to make money, then that is not his government. And clearly has shown evidence to that every single person that works in the government of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, their salaries have been cut down by 30%. That is a share of the burden of the Ghanaian people. And I do not think that there's been any government, even in the midst of the crisis, there's been any government that has shown that level of Ubuntu and community to the Ghanaian people. But in the midst of that, I'm very certain that as we look at the various issues, this morning I'm aware that the Minister for Transport is meeting the GPRTU as it relates to the affairs. Government asked that they charge close to about 19%. They have increased it to about 39%. And so there are various conversations, various stakeholder meetings that are ongoing to ensure that all these issues that are arising are meeting the needs of the Ghanaian people. This morning, whilst I was on my way, I saw a truckload of plantain coming into Accra. And so you can imagine.
Is this part of the Agric Minister's project to bring food from Western North?
There's a bumper harvest, even in the midst of these. There's a bumper harvest. And if we continually eat our local food and have appetites for our local food, I think that we'll be able to save the economy very well. Benjamin, it would interest you to know, if we decide as a country not to bring in rice, vegetable oil, toothpick, and all of those other things into the country, we would save the economy close to about $3 billion.
But who created that problem? We all created that problem.
Absolutely.
Our governments have shut down.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, there's 1D, 1F. Why are we still importing toothpicks? Why are we still importing some of the very basic essentials? Do you know how much we export every year of tissue, toilet roll? $100 million.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it.
In all, we're looking at $10.8 billion for some of the basic communities.
Absolutely.
Look at the price of oil. Look at the price of rice.
Absolutely.
So whose fault is it?
No, but Benjamin, you see, it's our collective responsibility as a country. You are aware that it's been from one government onto another government. It is only the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that has sought to tackle industrialization by the bull, taking it by the bull and ensuring that we are addressing it. There's not been any government. We sought out to build close to about 256 district industries and factories in this country. We've built close to about 200 as we speak now that are meeting the needs of the Ghanaian people. Now you are aware that if it's taking,
a lot of people, they say they can't see them.
They can't see them?
No.
People can't find Ekonfi juice. People can't find the industrialization of ceramics. People can't find. I can list them.
Let's do this exercise. I know that there are some, like the ceramics factory, a Chinese factory that has been refurbished and add-ons and all of that. I know about those. Off the top of your head, can you name 10 of them, maybe without having to consult?
I need to refer. I mean, I'm not an aggluttomy of knowledge. I can refer and list all the factories that have been done. I mean, clearly, very, 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 very clearly. And I'll just list them. List from number 1, Palm Pharmaceuticals. They manufacture pharmaceutical products. It's at Ikapim South, Eastern region. They have employed direct and indirect close to about 550 people. Prefos Ghana Limited, they manufacture street lights.
I know of Prefos.
You know Prefos.
Prefos has been in existence long.
Absolutely. The goal of the one district, one factory is to revive dead industries. Clearly.
But Prefos wasn't dead.
Well,
Prefos has never been dead.
Well, no, I'm not talking about Prefos. I'm talking about other industries that were not existent in terms of their expenditure and in terms of their funding and their employers and everything were dormant. Government injected money into that. You can go to Dako Farms and have a look at that. Dako Farms has been one of the foremost companies. They used to be at Akweje, thereabout. You remember, exactly. So the investment of the one district, one factory is not just for new factories that we are pioneering, but it's also for existing factories that need the support of government, and government has invested into that. I can go on to list Profad glazing system. They manufacture roofing sheets. Osiadan, many people are aware of Osiadan that is existing already. They came for some facility.
So you're going through
clearly,
a list there.
lots of investment.
Let me ask you this. Especially when we're being told that we're still importing so much, 10.8 billion. How much are we going to the IMF for?
Oh, I mean, you are aware.
No. So 3 billion.
We're going for 3 billion.
We're going to literally beg for 3 billion.
We are not begging. We are not begging. We are not begging. There are many countries in this world. There are many countries in this world that have gone to the IMF as we speak today.
I'm not saying. I'm not contesting that.
Many countries, not just Ghana.
Argentina has gone for 44 billion. They are being given different tranches. It's not to say we are not aware of that because the circumstances are different. But I'm saying we're going for 3 billion. Begging, cap in hand, when we are importing over $10.8 billion worth of items that we very well could produce here. So then my question to you, before I bring in Professor Kwejo Appiagyei-Etua, if we have all of these factories up and running, why are we still not filling the gaps? When you look at the gaps, it's not substantially different from when this administration took over and now. In fact, in most cases, it is even worse in terms of our consumption rates, the rice, the sugar, and some of these items we import. So what has been the impact then of 1D, 1F relating to this conversation?
So Benjamin, you're aware that population is extremely important in this conversation. Mm-hmm. On this continent, every 60 seconds, 72 children are born on this continent. In other continents, in 60 seconds, 2 children are born. And so consumption definitely would go up.
We all know Africa has a high...
Exactly.
The youth is growing
Exactly.
exponentially.
Which is why every government that comes needs to be able to have an industrialization agenda and plan. And I cannot overemphasize it enough, how our government and the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has sought to address this industrialization agenda. Mind you, it is also on the particular business model that these investors bring to government for government to be able to invest in.
Okay.
Which is why there is a conversation around, because I don't know the kind of food people eat in their homes, but if people are eating imported rice and they have gotten a taste of that imported rice, it is important that we begin the conversation around our own local rice and the accessibility of it, which is why in President's speech he did state that yes, of a truth, there's going to be a review of how we import rice, vegetable oil, toothpick into the country. And COVID, in fact, taught us that we need to be self-reliant and self-sufficient as a country because the global economies had closed at the time. Which is why, for me, I believe that Ghana is at a very good place to review a number of these issues so that going forward, we can be strong in our own right.
Okay, so it appears every time, you mentioned COVID, for example. What were the lessons learned and how did we actualize them until a year, 2 years after, we've been hit by the Russo-Ukrainian war? You could say, what were the lessons? How did we, look, even in terms of textiles and all of that. COVID taught us, so we were using textiles for our masks and all of that. What has happened to all of that? But I'll come to you. Let me go to Professor Kwejo Appiagyei, lecturer, University of Ghana School of Law. Prof, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
It's really good to have you join the conversation this morning. And I always like it when my former lecturers come here. So, Prof, as a former lecturer, I salute you this morning. I don't know whether you remember me, but
I do remember you. Thank you very much.
Right. Anyway, so let's get into your assessment of what happened on Saturday. Kume Prekon. First of all, do you think it was valid for people to pour out onto the streets like that? And what is your assessment of the entire enterprise based on what you've seen?
Thank you for having me. I think that the demonstration was justified. And the justification is based on the realities on the ground, especially the economic realities that people are facing. But you can also assess the demonstration by the placards that people bore and displayed, that it was not just about the economy, but it was also about other issues such as galamsey, such as issues about injustices and how people are mistreated over certain issues about how the government is dealing with governance issues in general. So it tells you that people have concerns, and the avenues that the Constitution has created for people to be able to seek redress to some of these opportunities are being denied them. And so there are other steps, of course, that the Constitution grants, which is the right to participation, which we have in this situation. We see people exercising that right, the right to express their feelings about the situation on the ground and to demand that accountability should be factored in, and the government should be held responsible for the various kinds of difficulties that people are facing on the ground.
So do tell me, they like you said, they made issue or took issue with quite a number of the economic developments, from fuel prices to the inflationary rate to the cost of goods to so many other things that we're facing in our economy. And we had quite a number of people, prominent people, Dr. Abu Sakara Foster, Adib Sani, a security analyst, who also joined us on this conversation. And the other leaders of this entire drive re-echo that. But when it comes to what they were aiming at, resignation of Mr. President, then for some, the Vice President as well, then in addition, the Finance Minister, then, as Mensa Thompson of ASEPA now adds, the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, because he says he is supervising this entire debacle when it comes to energy prices and all of that. How do you react to that, contextualizing it in the 1992 Constitution, what it says, especially about Mr. President, and what it will take to impeach him or something like that?
Well, first of all, I think that the Constitution grants the people certain rights that they can use to question governance and to demand accountability. First of all, like I said, the right to participation. We have the right to take part in governance as a people. And this is supported by the fact that we have the right to freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of assembly, which was expressed through the demonstrations that were held. Now, the question as to the demand or the focus of the demonstration or what triggered the demonstration is about the asking for the government or the president and the vice president to resign. And that is placed clearly in the Constitution. The Constitution demands certain form of responsibility from the president and the vice president. And if you look at the grounds for removal of the president from office in Article 69 or so of the Constitution, it talks about the economic conditions as one of the bases to demand resignation of the president from office. And of course, the Constitution says that that should be undertaken by Parliament, by a 2/3 majority vote, before a committee will be set up by the Chief Justice to go into that. However, this is a case where Parliament is not performing its functions, and Parliament is a representative of the people. So the people have the right to demand that Parliament does its job, or the president himself and the vice president himself should resign. And it has happened in some countries. So I think that by checking its responsibilities, Parliament, by checking its responsibilities, the people that put the members of Parliament in there is taking the power into their own hands. Because if you go to the preamble of the Constitution, and Article 1 of the Constitution as well, it talks about that the power belongs to the people and sovereignty resides in the people. So that it is that power that the people are exercising by going on the streets. And that is what should be accepted as being a performance of their responsibilities, and therefore it should be a way of shaming Parliament for not doing its job, because we have a situation where...
In which sense, Prof?
In the sense that if you look at the economic morass we are in, if you look at the different circumstances, challenges we are in, everybody expressing concerns, and the fact that the government remains adamant, the fact that the government is on a public relations gimmick, trying to justify and to give credence to the good things it has done without admitting not even an iota of admittance that it is not performing well, and it should admit some of the weaknesses and try to cushion the hardship that the people are facing. It is on a publicity tour trying to tout its achievements, which remains some of it on paper, some of which not real, some of which manufactured, which therefore sends a clear message that the government is on one planet and the people are on another planet, that is Ghana. So the people have to take the power back and to demand that there's a change of leadership. And that is what they are doing. And it means that Parliament, by the power given it under Article 69, has shelved that responsibility. And that is why I see that something needs to be done. Look at, for example, the 80 parliamentarians that called for the resignation of the Minister of Finance. And we see how they have recoiled into their shells. I heard Honorable Osei Chieftaincy saying that now it is all the NPP members of Parliament, the whole caucus, that is saying that the finance minister should go. But it is mere rhetoric. It should go beyond that speech and statement and be backed by action. What action have they been taking? The minority is saying that it is calling for a vote of censure, but the leader of the 80, original 80, if I could call them rebels, says that they are not supporting that. It's a different agenda from what they are doing. Right. So what is being said here? They are not doing the job that the Constitution has assigned them to do for the people.
Just hold your thoughts right there for me. I'll come right back to you. Paul Wave, So quite a number of issues. And let me just quote from the 1992 Constitution. You were nodding your head when Article 69 was mentioned by Prof. It actually states, 1, the president shall be removed from office if he is found, and shall in legal terms means it's obligatory, to have acted in willful violation of the oath of allegiance and the presidential oath set out in the second schedule, 2, or in willful violation of any other provision of the Constitution. And it's important that it's mentioned here as well in point 2. Prejudicial, that is any action prejudicial or inimical to the economy or the security of the state. I just want to focus on that. And then you hear Professor Appiah mention that we're in an economic morass, that government is adamant that government is full of PR gimmicks. You are on a publicity tour instead of addressing the core issues. We had Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia at the Hokwechochoza, and he was talking about what you have done. But what have you failed to do? And what exactly is the level of acceptance that maybe some things have not gone right?
Benjamin, I think that the learned professor hasn't done enough justice to what we have admitted to.
Are you impugning what Professor Appiah has said?
Well, you see, even in your reference of the Article 69, it's not all of it that you read, but it's not a problem.
No, because of course we are talking about economic issues.
No, it's fine. I can understand. But it's really important for us to state that when President spoke to the nation, he admitted publicly to the Ghanaian people that we are in crisis. Which leader would stand before their people to admit that we are in crisis? President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo did that. And so we are not in any way sharing our responsibility, and we are not in any way on a PR campaign or a PR gimmick. We have admitted that we are in hardship. We are not adamant to the voices of the Ghanaian people. We ourselves as a government have even taken measures, very strict measures on our own expenditure. And so if it goes in that line, I think that is inappropriate because, yes, we are in a very difficult economic challenge. But in the midst of that, it's important that we remind the Ghanaian people what we have done and what we are capable of doing for the Ghanaian people to continually have their trust in the leadership that they voted for.
I think now, when you talk about capability, what you are able to do.
Let me land.
Go ahead.
The issues that have arisen, for which reason there's been a demonstration, which the Ghana police aided and allowed them to do because it's their constitutional right and mandate.
Right.
And their call for the president's impeachment is inappropriate because there is not in any of the
inappropriate.
Well, yes, because there is not in any of the Article 69 interpretation that the president has faulted to any of them. So we are addressing the economic challenges.
He's not faulted against the second part.
I can read. The president. It says that to have acted in willful violation of the oath of allegiance and in the presidential oath set out in the second schedule or in willful violation of any provision of the Constitution, the president has not faulted to this. Number 2, or have conducted himself in a manner which brings or is likely to bring the high office of president into disrepute, ridicule, or contempt. The president has not faulted to this. And number 3, prejudicial or inimical to the economy or the security of the state. The president has not faulted to this at all. We have not been adamant to the crisis of the Ghanaian people. We are addressing the Ghanaian needs and the plight of the economy. You are aware that we have begun a conversation with the IMF. The government is not sitting aloof for the economy to crash down. You are aware as well how we have cut down expenditure. You did ask how much we are able to raise. We've raised close to about 30 million Ghana cedis as a result of that. The president has extended that, and I've stated that there's not been any government, you can check the records, that has cut down expenditure by 30%. It's important that we cannot throw that away under the carpet. You are aware that even in the midst of these economic challenges, the country is at work.
Okay, so
issues,
clear.
Infrastructural work that we are doing
let me just
is currently ongoing. And it's not a PR gimmick. It's very evidential for Ghanaian people to see.
Unfortunately, Prof feels it's a PR gimmick, and others too, some of those who hit the streets on Saturday felt it was a PR gimmick. But let me just pose a quick question to you before I go to Adib Sani, who is waiting patiently on the line. If all of this were working, I just want to find out, why do you think Mr. President at that recent Global Citizens Festival was booed? I have my stance. I've mentioned that I wouldn't do that, but he was booed. Then we've seen other incidents in recent times. Another one, and now the vice president at Hokwechochoza was also basically shouted down. If all of these things you're saying, you're doing, are actually impacting the people or they are being felt, do you think the people would be reacting this way?
You know, Benjamin, we live in very interesting times. And it's a deep concern to see that the Ghanaian electorate is plying this particular route. Because you know what, they have a proverb in Chi that we need to be mindful the kind of precedents we are setting, especially for our leaders in this country. I condemn every act of booing of any leader. You would realize that in all of my communication and in all my expose, you will never find me on any public platform disrespect, disregard, or insult. And so it's about time we need to call that out. What is the essence of booing a national leader? If persons are purported to be behind to make the government unpopular, I think that I'll use this very honorable platform to advise them to desist from that. It doesn't augur well at all. Whether it is 2 or 3, it is not a good precedence we need to set for our national leaders. And of a truth, what wrong did the vice president do? Of a truth, what did the president do for having Ghana to host the Global Citizen Award? What wrong did the president do? What wrong did the president do to have gone to Ashanti region to supervise ongoing works? I was on the trip. What wrong did the president do to see to it that the KJTR market phase 2 is being done for the people of Ashanti region? What wrong did the president do?
So you're against booing?
I'm definitely against booing.
You do know that best practices in other democracies, the democracies we want to aspire to, this is just common there. They do this. In fact, at a point, though it's not substantiated and it's not, someone even slapped Emmanuel Macron recently. It's not the right thing. Let's not even, but that is how far some people go. In those democracies, booing someone is not, I don't know why you think we can be democratic, and here it's some
Benjamin,
sort of, is it a crime?
Benjamin, it's not a crime, but it's not every meal you eat.
Right.
That's the truth. It's not every meal you eat.
Let me quickly do this. Let me bring in Adib Sani. Adib, you're a security analyst, and you happened to be at this demonstration that day. I saw you in full force also sharing your thoughts with us. How would you assess the outcome of that demonstration? And having heard Paul Graves speak and Prof speak, what is your reaction to what they've said so far?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Paul Graves is a brother. A very good morning to him.
Good morning.
And a very good morning to Prof. It's quite obvious that my brother is on, how do we call it, on a damage control sort of venture, because it's quite obvious that they have blamed everybody but themselves for where we have gotten ourselves to today. You painted a very rosy picture about the economy, made it look like there's absolutely no way things can go wrong. Peter Okocha on BBC told the president that an economic expert, so is it a financial expert, said that our reckless borrowing and some of the activities we're engaged in, including capital-intensive projects and all that, is a recipe for disaster. The president bastardized it. Here we are today. As we speak, food inflation alone, as at the end of September, is 122%. Professor Hank from Johns Hopkins University said that he doesn't agree with our inflation rate of 37.2% as at the end of September. According to him, it's about 148%. We have the most expensive food in sub-Saharan Africa, according to the World Bank. So the government keeps telling us what they are doing, but they are failing to acknowledge that they also made mistakes. And that is why we are here today. You need to eat the humble pie and stop talking plenty, because that is not what is going to salvage the situation. People are suffering. People are angry. So we responded to the call of the people. We are apolitical. We don't belong to any political organization. We feel that what is going on is not right. And as citizens and not spectators, we need to call government to order. The demonstration was very successful, even though there was spread of fake news about how bloody it would turn. I had someone reaching out to my brother abroad and sending him this message, and my brother just took a screenshot of that message and sent to me that, boss, please, I saw Adib on TV regarding the Kumi Preko. Please convince him not to join. It will be bloody. And there was this other message going around on social media, widely shared. And I know it is deliberate. That good evening all. There will be a demonstration on Saturday. My advice is if you have nothing important doing in town, stay home or better be careful when you go out. Do not take part in this. Anything can happen, please. But that notwithstanding, we had both Ghanaians coming out in their numbers. It was peaceful. We stuck to the route as agreed with the police. And I must say, this is just the beginning, certainly not the end.
All right. Thank you for those initial comments. I'll be coming back to both of you, gentlemen. But let me, for the sake of time conditions with Paul Grave this morning, let's quickly do this. You've listened to both parties. You've seen the placards of ordinary Ghanaians saying, Charlie, Kumaya shit, Nana, Yebibi. What is the way forward? What are your final comments and what is the way forward? How do we get this remedied? I don't know whether our team from Abu Dhabi has returned yet with cheaper fuel. I don't know about that. Yeah, how do we get out of this hole we're in?
So, Benjamin, Nana Eyebibi, just because you spoke in Twi, I need to respond that way. Nana Eyebibi. Yes, as a government, we have plans and already have begun conversations to be able to buy cheaper fuels so we can bring it into the Ghanaian economy.
Are we getting it from Abu Dhabi?
Well, there's a team that has gone out.
Because I know they are there for a different mission as well.
Well, there's a team that has gone out. We are also looking at various places.
Like where?
Lots of places.
Are we looking at Russia?
We are looking at various places. I like to leave it at that. We are looking at various places where we can be able to afford cheaper fuel and bring it into the Ghanaian economy. Yes, we have heard the plight of the Ghanaian people. We are not adamant to it. We have heard the plight of Abib, we've heard the plight of Professor, we've heard the demonstrators, even some that cannot interpret what BOJ is and Abuchi is. We have also heard all of them, but we want to be able to state emphatically that we are in this together and we are going to come out stronger. It's important that as they revolt around the country, they should not spend a lot of money because a lot of these things also cost money in organizing demonstrations. So save the little money that you have so that we can all be able to bring the economy back to life.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Paul Grave. It's been good having you join this conversation.
I'll come again.
We should do this more often.
Absolutely.
Paul Grave Boakye Dankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security. He had to take the time to join us this morning. Thank you so much. Let me go back to Adib Sani. So quickly, you have said that this entire enterprise was successful. Having done what you did, what would you say the real impact of that was?
We represented the voices of ordinary Ghanaians. We proved beyond reasonable doubt that, yes, you can protest without necessarily resorting to violence. We are putting pressure on the politicians. I'm sure a lot of them didn't sleep that night. And this is just the beginning. Even though we expected more than the crowd we saw, but it still reflects the level of anger in the system. And we are hoping that with this demonstration, which gained a lot of local and international media attention, it will put pressure on politicians to act so we are able to salvage the situation. I would have expected that in as much as they're doing a lot of talking, they put in place certain strategies so we are able to improve the situation rather than just do the talking. We were expecting the president would reduce the size of his government. There are too many government appointees, all with V8s. And today, if you are going to fill a V8, it is about 2,500 cedis. And it will interest you to know that all these government appointees have their personal assistants who are also running around with V8s. The size of the government for a small country like Ghana is just too much. And in the midst of all we are going through, the president was still private jetting. And his appointees were also still traveling using business class instead of economy. So we want to see action, not just by word, but by deed. So we would know that, yes, indeed, the government is committed to improving the situation. And that's exactly what we are yet to see. And we would also want them to accept the fact that, yes, they erred. A lot of mistakes were made. And so what next? The president would have to fire his finance minister also. But after 137 MPs said we cannot work with him, he's lost credibility. The president is refusing to do so. That is why, in line with our democratic rights, in line with the Constitution, we want the president to go. As simple as that. If not, they are yet to see the best of us.
The conversation, but on a broad economic basis. First of all, I'll start with you, Prof, though. The number of people, some have said that if the president goes and the vice president goes, assuming they resign, which is very unlikely, of course, the speaker would have to take over. Parliamentary processes would have to be looked at. 3 months into that, some election would have to be conducted. And now people are adding the finance minister and they're adding the energy minister. Is that practical when it comes to our law? Just quickly on that.
Sorry, the practicality of the resignation of the other ministers?
No, to let go of, so you want the president to go, you want the vice to go, you want the finance minister. These are cabinet ministers, finance minister, energy minister, all to go in one fell swoop. Is that a practical demand to make?
I think it is, because the demand for their removal from office is based on performance. And the performance so far has been nothing to write home about. It's been very abysmal. And people see it. It is not only the 2 or 3 ministers, but the Minister for Agriculture has also been pinned as not also doing very well at all. For example, we've seen him saying that prices are very cheap and reasonable on the market, but people are crying that prices are high. And then he goes on to say that he's setting up stalls at the Ministry of Agriculture to sell products cheaper to Ghanaians. This is just unrealistic. It doesn't show leadership. It doesn't show somebody who is committed to the concerns of the people and want to have things changed. Meanwhile, a lot of money has been pumped into planting for food and jobs program, but we are not seeing the results. So if government continues to tell us stories which is not reflected in the lives of the people, then it is a realistic demand that they should go. There are more competent people who can take over the reins of government and do a better job. And so it is not an unrealistic demand at all. We need people who have the nation at heart, people who, considering that we are not in normal times. When COVID came, we said we were not in normal times. COVID has more or less passed, but Ghana is in a more precarious situation even during the COVID era. So we need leadership that focuses on producing results. Leaders that realize the problem and say that we can do better, and this is how we need to focus and do things better. The government representative who just left was talking about saving $30 million. Excuse me, that's
actually cedis. 30 million cedis.
It is. I want to be very careful with my words, but it is not something that can appeal to people to say that government is doing something good. We have a bloated ministry. We have so many ministers who are underperforming, and we need to cut down on these numbers. We have government appointees with their networks and people as assistants and so on, who are all milking from the consolidated fund. We need to cut down all these people. They are not performing. Even if they are performing, that is a different thing. So we are speaking on behalf of the ordinary person, people you see on the streets who cannot afford, people who call you and demand that they need food on the table. They slept last night.
Right.
They cannot find any table on the food to eat. This is what we need to deal with, and we need leadership. This is a wartime situation, and that is what calls for slimming, having a slim, lean government and making sure that the government delivers. The Minister for Energy has not delivered. He needs to go. Many of them have not delivered. They need to go. And that is what the government should listen and do for the people.
Okay.
And this is not coming from the minority or it is coming from the people.
Okay, so you've added your voice to the fact that the Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, hasn't delivered. He also must go. In 40 seconds, gentlemen, so there are two sides to this story. For example, I'm looking at Economy Times today. It says job scarcity on the rise. It also says fuel prices to surge further as BDCs to sell at going exchange rate. But you also see, we're told that something is being done about our fuel price situation so that maybe if we get cheaper fuel, then the prices will go down. In fact, the governor of the Bank of Ghana has also been accused for non-performance, but he is named here as among Africa's 10 best central bank governors. Are we overdoing it? There's also commodity prices dropping. Cocoa, gold, crude oil, our exports are dropping, even while we are hoping to curb imports. 40 seconds each. Is this going to get better? I'll start with you, Prof, and then go to Adib.
I wish I could be as optimistic as I could be, but the horizon, the signs on the horizon are negative. And until we see some changes on the ground, it may affect the security of the state. I'm concerned about the link between the economy and security. When human security is threatened, it affects the security of the state, and I'm concerned much about that. And so in the near future, I don't see much thing changing unless there are some drastic changes we see from the government, where the number of ministries are cut, where the government is dealing seriously with the Galamsey issue, which also has a strong link with the economy. Until that turnaround comes about, then I don't see much prospects for the country going forward, unfortunately.
Prof, we're so grateful that you took the time to join this conversation. We wish you the very best of the day, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And that is Professor Kwejo Appiagyei Etua, a lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law or Faculty of Law. Let me wrap with Adib Sani. 40 seconds for you with your wrap-up comments.
Okay, so we are in a sorry state, I must say. We cannot deny that fact. And it is an indictment, it's an insult on the country for us who export about 200,000 barrels of oil a day to go elsewhere looking for fuel when we have thermal oil refinery and have deliberately ensured that it doesn't refine any oil because some people have interest. They import the finished products at the expense of Ghanaians. Some also have decided to bring partners, so-called partners from Russia and China to set up new oil refineries altogether. How do you expect that we move forward as a country? Okay, so because of people's interest, we are here today. Thermal oil refinery is not able to refine, not because thermal oil refinery doesn't have that capability. It's a lie. When they tell us they don't have the capability, they have the capacity, they have the capability, but because of people's interest, thermal oil refinery is prevented from refining oil. And that is why we have to go to Dubai and other places begging for fuel. That is an insult.
Thank you, Adib Sani, for joining the conversation as well. Adib is a security analyst. He was actually on the ground at the Kumi Preko Reloaded demonstration on Saturday. Of course, we also had in the studio earlier Paul Grave Bwachidankwa, his government spokesperson on governance and security. This is how we draw the curtains on this particular end of the conversation. But coming up after the break, we're also going to be deliberating on those teacher unions who say the latest appointee as Director General of the Ghana Education Service must go. They say this is the first time a non-teacher is occupying the position and they are resisting it forcefully. But do they have a point? That conversation up next as we reach our correspondents across the country after the break.
It was from this background that we made our reaction known on the dismissal of the Director General of the Ghana Education Service and subsequent appointment of a banker as an acting Director General, contrary to the substantive and procedural rules of our collective agreement, which was signed in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, it must be stated that the Director General's position is the preserve of educationists and has been occupied by educationists since its creation in the 1974 to date. Therefore, the appointment of a banker instead of educationists is a manifestation of lack of confidence in teachers and to manage their own affairs and disregard the establishment scheme of service and progression within the Ghana Education Service. The teacher unions did not only register their protest, but also found it unacceptable for a banker to be appointed as a Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Instead of educationists, at a time when many teachers who did the same courses and related ones were rejected by GES because it is not related to education. We stated that both the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service should apologize to teachers for accepting the very qualification they rejected when teachers presented them. Contract extension. We stated our opposition to the said contract extension and thereby sounded note of caution that we will vehemently and vigorously resist any attempt to bring Mr. Anthony Boateng back into the system, and that the consequences of any such attempt may be too dire to handle. We finally caution that should government fail to heed our call, leadership of the teacher unions will not be able to control the actions and inactions of their members, and the Ministry of Education and GES may have themselves to blame in the final analysis. We have been compelled, under the current circumstances, to publicly communicate to Ghanaians on our intention to go on strike, having reached the November 4th deadline we gave the government. Consequently, we have decided to embark on strike from today, Friday, 4th November 2022. By this, we are informing the general public that we are withdrawing all our services in all the pre-tertiary education institutions.
You're welcome back to the AM show. You just heard from Reverend Dr. Isaac Osu, the Ghana National Association of Teachers President, and we also heard from Angel Kabanu, who's the President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT. We know that 3 teacher unions have declared an industrial action over the failure of government to meet their deadline to terminate the appointment of Dr. Eric Nkansa as Acting Director General of the Ghana Education Service. We will be going around the country to find out what is the reality on the ground. Let's start with our Upper West Regional Correspondent, Rafiq Salam. Rafiq Salam, good morning. Can you tell us what is happening? Where are you and what is happening on the ground?
The situation in the Upper West Region, to be precise, the one municipality, is nothing to write home about, as the teachers have really laid down their tools and they are unprepared to teach the wards or the pupils at the various schools here. I have visited about 5 schools in the municipality this morning, and I've seen the children, they went to the schools in droves, but in some of the places, the teachers were nowhere to be found. And in some few schools that I met the teachers, they told me that the announcement came late on Friday. They were not able to inform their colleague teachers about the strike. And so as I speak to you now, some schools in the one municipality are prepared to even close because they think that if they leave the school, it will be something like some recreational holiday for the pupils, and that will not be the best for the schools. And so schools in the one municipality, some of them are saying that they are prepared to at least close the schools so that once GES reacts to their situation, they will come back.
Rafiq, have you been able to speak to some parents, and what are they saying?
Parents are really deeply worried about the situation because they are witnesses. Some of them told me that they just don't know what is really happening with the educational system. Some of them told us that they are really confused about what is happening because even schools, they don't even know now when they are closed and then when they are supposed to put school, like in terms of a real place or on vacation, because they are saying that they are just at their wish. They don't know what to say again. So this current strike for them is having a toll on them, and they would like to appeal to the government to really come to the aid of these teachers so that to get them back into their classrooms.
All right, so the picture on the ground is that there are students, there are no teachers, and parents are worried, yeah?
Yes, that's the picture. The students, they are in the schools. Some teachers also appeared, but they're saying that in the next 2 minutes, they will leave. But they don't want to leave the students or the pupils there alone. As I talk to you, I'm seeing some of the schools have just closed, and I can see some of the pupils are passing by me once I talk to you. And so they are closing the schools because they don't want to leave the schools, leaving the students there.
All right, so that's Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam, who says that the teachers have laid down their tools. No teaching is happening, and then parents are worried and confused. We know that the unions are the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers Ghana. And they say that Dr. Nkansa, who was a banker and not a professional teacher, declared that is why they have declared their strike at a press conference in Accra, and that was on Friday. We will be trying to get more on this. All right, so I just spoke to our Upper West Regional Correspondent, Rafiq Salam. Is happening. The parents are worried, and that the teachers are not. All right, so let's go to Ivy Setoji on the phone. Ivy, can you give us an update? Where are you, and what have you seen so far? What can you report?
Well, I'm currently in school, and yes, the teachers, most of them are not around. The few who are also around are monitoring things for the meantime because some of the children are already in school. And then they want them to be safe. So they are just trying their best to make sure that they are out of the campus safe so that they can also go home. Teachers are not willing to talk on records. They said they wouldn't want to talk on records, but they are just waiting for the students to leave, then they can go home. But they are also going according to the union executives to be on site. So they are not there to teach, but just to monitor the children or the students who are around for the meantime. So yes, they are on strike, and most of the schools, since except a few of the students who are around. And parents are also not happy about the current situation because when it happens like that, parents who are workers need to look for people to take care of their children at home, and which is something very difficult for them, according to some of them.
And Ivy, have you spoken to some parents? What are they saying? How are they feeling about the situation?
Hello?
Ivy, have you spoken to some parents on the ground? What are they saying, and how do they feel about the situation?
Yeah, so parents, as I said earlier, that they are not happy about the situation because right now some of them who are workers need to look for people to take care of their children back at home, especially the younger ones back at home, which is difficult for them as of now. So they wish that things are sorted out as early as possible so that teachers can go back to school and then take care of their children. So yes, parents are not happy about the current situation.
All right, that is Ivy Setoji. But we know that a former public relations officer of the PRO of the Education Ministry, Echo Vincent, has lashed out at the government for appointing an alien to the industry. That is what he's saying, to head the Ghana Education Service. Now, he posted on his Facebook page that he believes that the Education Ministry's recommendation that caused the removal of Professor Kwesopoku Amankwa was ill-conceived, selfish, and baseless. On the phone is Kwesi Kwarteng, PR of the Ministry of Education. Mr. Kwarteng, good morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Now, so teachers are on strike. Let's first get your thoughts on this. What is the way forward? Because children are at school, stranded, no teachers on the ground, playing football, missing out on very important lessons. What is the Ministry of Education doing about this?
Yeah, we have been engaging the teachers and appealing to them to call off the strike. Our engagement was very progressive and fruitful last Friday when we met, except to say that we were not absolutely conclusive on our discussions. And today we scheduled that by 2 p.m. today, artists will meet and engage again. And then the expectation is that based on or against the backdrop of the progress that we made last week, we hope that today when we meet, we should be able to find a common or middle ground and get our teachers back to the classroom.
You say your engagement on Friday was fruitful, but it's Monday morning and the teachers are not in school doing what they're supposed to do. So when you say fruitful, I don't get it.
Yes, so I said fruitful and progressive. So what I mean is that we've made some progress and we've made some strides. Of course, initially parties had entrenched positions where from us at the Ministry of Education, our position was that, well, the appointment was made by the president. And when it comes to Dr. Nkansa's appointment, and for that matter, we believe that that should remain the status quo. Our teachers will also say that, they were rejecting the appointment. But since we met on Friday, the positions are not the same. We are all coming to some common ground. And that common ground is that whichever way parties need to understand that our teachers have to go to the back to the classroom, and whatever it has to take for them to go back to the classroom is our focus. So yes, there is been some flexibility with our engagement and our positions, and is the basis why I'm saying that hopefully by close of day we should bring this matter to an end. Of course, I wouldn't want to prejudice whatever we are going to discuss. But yes, I'm very hopeful that when the parties meet later in the day, we should be hearing some good news.
All right. So, they're obviously striking the appointment of Mr. Nkansa, right? And you say that, yes, the president appointed him. We get that. But they are the ones on the ground and saying that they don't want this man. So what common ground are you going to come to?
I'm not sure, especially with the success that we talked or the progress that we talked with regards to the engagement process. I want to go into the details of it. But ultimately, as soon as you mention engagement and parties sit at the table, is an invitation and again an indication that parties have accepted to be flexible in their position. And not necessarily the Ministry of Education. Also, the teacher union. So today, it is possible that at the end of the meeting, the outcomes are that probably Dr. Nkansa could be changed. The outcome could also be that he will be maintained. And the outcome that we are all looking at is to get the teachers back to the classroom. Yes, we all don't have entrenched positions with respect to whatever issues that has been raised and whatever objections that has also been raised. What is most important thing is that today we are able to get our teachers back to the classroom. And that we are hopeful.
And is there a possibility that Mr. Nkansa might be changed?
That's what I'm saying, that when you are going into an engagement, you don't go with an entrenched position. You understand? Yeah. Anything is possible. Just like even the teachers, themselves can change their mind. The ministry to our position is not very fixated. Anything can happen. Yeah. And I am not. I think it wouldn't be fair to the rules of engagement that I prejudice whatever they are going to engage or whatever they are going to discuss.
All right. So today we're hoping for a proper outcome, which is that the teachers should go back to the classroom, right?
Yes. By 2 p.m. today, when the leadership meets, that is what we expect.
And then when we're looking at the possibilities of them returning to the classrooms tomorrow, how does that look? I know you said that we shouldn't go into, an engagement with some sort of ideas.
After the meeting, all consequential decisions will be made and they will be communicated to the media and the public.
Okay. All right. So that is PRO of the Education Ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, and he says that they'll be engaged. Thank you very much for your time. We'll go to Anas Sabit, who is on the line as our correspondent. But before Anas Sabit, Kwesi Kwarteng is saying that they're going into an engagement with these teachers, and hopefully they will come out with a positive outcome so that the teachers can be on the ground by tomorrow morning. Anas Sabit, please, can you give us an update where you are and what's happening on the ground?
I'm currently at the Zongo Early Basic School. I've been to a number of other schools, Alpha Area School, I've been to the Islamic School, and I've been to the Japo MA Basic School. And here at the Zongo Early Primary School and Junior High School, the situation is the same. I've seen children playing all over and classrooms under lock. I've had the opportunity to engage a couple of the head teachers in these schools I've visited, and they told me per the committee that came out in relation to this particular strike, they came and most of the teachers are not here. So the best thing we could do is to ensure that these children are sent home so that they will be safer with their parents than to be kept loitering about all over. The children, as usual, most of them are excited about the situation. But a few others are not happy because they told me their parents are not home. So right now that they are going home, they don't know what they are going to do. So that is the situation we are seeing in the Pedestrian municipality maps. And it cuts across almost all the basic schools or the public schools I've visited this morning. As it stands, we have only a handful of people playing around. You could see them here playing football, and a chunk or a number of them have left for their homes.
And have you spoken to some parents? What are they saying? How are they feeling about the situation?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to speak with some of these parents, and their concern has to do with once that they are most of them are working, sending these children to their various homes would mean their work is going to be affected in a way, especially those who are at the various offices. And those are the markets. Kisman is a predominantly commercial town. So those of them who will be going to the market will now have to find caretakers at home or carry their children along to the market. That is the major concern of some people I've had to speak with this morning.
All right, Anas Sabit is regional correspondent, and he's been giving us an update on what's happening on the ground. Parents are worried. Children, as you have seen in the visuals he gave us, are playing football, and some are worried that they have to go home. Parents are not at home. What will they do? I mean, these are like 10-year-olds, 10, 11-year-olds, and they have nobody to take care of them. What happens if they run into danger while they're at home? But according to the PR of the Ministry of Education, Kwesi Kwarteng, they are hoping that everything will be resolved by 2 p.m. and we will be given an update. It's a Monday morning. Teachers are on strike. Parents are worried. Children are playing football. By 2 p.m., we'll know what will happen tomorrow. Water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions: 330 ml and 500 ml bottle to fit your pockets and your bags. We also have 750 ml for the heavy drinkers and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We have introduced our special 19 liters jar for offices and homes. Now you just need to stay awake with Awake purified drinking water wherever you go. Come on, grab a bottle of Awake water and get quality hydration. Awake purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, For every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casapreco, and for bulk purchase, you can call 026 235 1251. This advert is FDA approved. You're still watching The AM Show. There are more conversations after this break.
Well, thank you for joining us for this conversation. And we now talk about the University of Professional Studies Accra's annual leadership lecture, which provides an intellectual platform where distinguished individuals critically examine and deliberate on leadership challenges and proffer solutions. We have the problems, but what are the solutions? Now, this year, the theme is going to be Tragic of the Common, Leadership for the Common Good. Tragic of the Common, Leadership for the Common Good. Now, considering the period in which the world finds itself, including Ghana, we're not an island, there is the need to reflect on quality leadership on all fronts, that is personal, corporate, community, district, regional, and even national levels to help navigate the turbulent times. Well, this year, what a fitting personality for the keynote address. The speaker is His Eminence, Cardinal Peter Appiah Turkson, or better still, as we Catholics would put it, Peter Cardinal Appiah Turkson. And of course, joining us in the studio, we have our guest, Dr. Korio Enim Wright, who is Registrar of the University of Professional Studies, Accra. Doc, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Even before we delve into the real substantive matter, you've come a long way from being the Institute for Professional Studies to becoming the University for Professional Studies, Accra, and all of that. Just walk us through, what has the story of IPS, now UPSA, been?
Well, it's been a great one. I mean, many people who come to the campus now can't believe the transformation that the campus has been through. But we started as a correspondence school, so to speak, with all these programs like ACCA, CIMG, and eventually we morphed into this wonderful university that we currently find ourselves in.
Right.
Now we offer doctoral programs, master's programs, bachelor's programs. We still have the diploma programs, and we have even stayed true to our origins, meaning that we still have an Institute for Professional Studies, IPS, that focuses on all the chartered programs. So we may have grown a lot, we may have been transformed, we have been progressive, but we still remain at our core what a lot of people know us for, which is providing excellent education.
Mm. And it's really interesting looking at the 70s and everything that was done and how eventually the state, took over, and it's quite an interesting story, really. And indeed, the core mandate has been kept. But let's talk about this lecture that we're about to have. Since when? 2017?
Since 2017. And the whole idea is to bring eminent leaders who can talk to us about issues and offer solutions to things that are facing us on a regular basis. Over the years, I'm sure if somebody asks you, have you had time to sit and reflect on some of the major issues and challenges? The answer is no. We are going. This gives us all the chance to stop, pause, and listen to leaders in the field talk to us about some of these really challenging issues that are facing us and that we all grapple with on a daily basis.
Mm. So I do not know, over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about COVID-19, the Russo-Ukrainian war, and of course, the economic turmoil that we currently face. Are these some of those issues you're contemplating as we have this lecture?
I think this is probably why His Eminence is an amazing pick for this time, because we've all been through so much. People are raw because of the pandemic that just hit us. We all have the entire world, everybody going through some sort of global economic crisis. And you almost want to see yourself as an individual. I think his being here and the talk he's going to take us through reminds us about our interconnectedness and the commonality of our humanity, and that we need to focus on that first rather than just striving to survive. But how do we exist in this complex situation that we find ourselves in this complex environment, and how do we touch each other and really help each other rather than just focusing on what we need and how we can actually get through it alone.
Now let's just go back in history a bit. Since 2017, these lectures have been organized, and pretty prominent figures. Dr. Ibn Chambers has been there, the UN Secretary General's representative back then for West Africa and the Sahel. Then we had Otumfuo Osei-Tutu. We had John Ejekun Kufuor, former presidents, before Otumfuo Osei-Tutu. Yes. That's quite a list that you have there. What has gone into selecting these keynote speakers?
Interestingly enough, I think the Times have chosen the speakers for us. The period in which we were in, for example, the logical choice and the only choice in our opinion was His Eminence. And when we first started, I think we were talking a lot about youth empowerment, and that was when Ibn Chambers came up also and had the conversation with us. President Kufuor was very interested in governance, in terms of good governance, and how the governance process in Ghana is doing vis-a-vis the governance structure globally. And of course, Otumfuo, I mean, there's never a bad time to have Otumfuo. There's always a good time to have Otumfuo. And I'm proud to say that he's a graduate of UPSA. So he was more than happy to come and also speak to us about leadership. So leadership is the core topic we want to focus on, because I think people misunderstand the word. There are lots of people in positions, but very few people are leaders. And I think it's important for us to listen to these eminent scholars who have become leaders in their own right. So leadership is something you earn. It's a respect given to you based on how you carry yourself in the position that you have.
You can have CEOs and the others. It doesn't necessarily mean they have leadership or they're leaders.
No,
right.
and so these individuals, these 4 people that we've chosen, are clear leaders in their fields. And how and what they tell us allow those who aspire to be leaders be able to put the points together to allow them to reach that goal.
So it's interesting, now that you've already started with the topic, tragic of the common, leadership for the common good. And the topic is specific, and it's couched in a specific way for specific effect. Tragic of the common, leadership for the common good. Just break it down for us a bit. Tragic of the common, leadership for the common good. What went into selecting this topic that His Eminence will be speaking on?
Well, His Eminence chose the topic, so I can only infer what he may be thinking about. I think in this time that we find ourselves, a lot of people believe that the leadership in all the nations in the world have to rise to the occasion to get us through. In so doing, we realize that not everybody has the capacity or the ability. And I think what he means by the topic is that leadership is not common. So although we have a lot of leaders around right. us, the ability to excel and to break from the pack and to actually lead us, we the people, to where we need to be is what leaders have to understand, that it is not a common trait. You have to strive at it, you have to work at it, and you have to get there to be able to pull people along. That's what I think is in his mind when he wants to talk to us about, the common leadership, the tragic of the word common, and that leadership is not common. It's something that you really have to work at to be able to get your people where you want them to be.
I'm going to ask you a bit of a question. I don't know whether I'm straying from the main subject, but looking at the context of what we're discussing, and it's reflective of Ghana generally, and maybe even other countries, because the people you've been inviting are international figures. What do you see when you look at our own contexts, from religion to politics to education to everything in between, in terms of leadership?
I think there are certain paths on which one finds oneself that you can never really get to the end. And so for everyone in leadership positions, it's a growth process. What we all have to do is have the ability to listen, to hear what those who are following us are saying, and see how we can meet them halfway or all the way. And sometimes we don't meet them at all because what they are saying isn't something that is worth doing or should be done or would get us in the wrong place. But I think that all leaders, wherever we find ourselves, need to hone in the ability to stay in touch with those that we are leading, so that we can empathize with them, we can show them the way when the time arrives and when they need us to really rise to the occasion.
What are you hoping will be, what are your expectations as far as this lecture series is concerned? In the end, what are you hoping will be the impact of this lecture?
Everyone is in very difficult times right now, and I think somehow we need a touchstone. And I'm hoping that His Eminence provides that touchstone that globalizes everything, puts things in context, and gives us concrete steps on how, if we can't get out of it, how we can face it. Because sometimes when you're faced with tragedy, there are certain traits that you need to have to be able to overcome it. So if nothing at all, I'm hoping that His words will be comforting and that we'll find a way to get out of the situation that we all find ourselves globally with some dignity, with some honor, and with some clear steps on how we get out of it.
We'll be talking about the program outline, among others, but looking at the order of proceedings, we're talking about the welcome address to be delivered by the Vice Chancellor, and we also have the keynote address. Then we have a timeless tribute of faith and hope by Professor Kofi Abochi. He is your Dean of the Faculty of Law, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. So he wrote an amazing poem that talks about UPSA's growth and transformation.
Okay.
And we thought it fitting that at a time when we are in the process of talking about growth, transformation, and how we get out of difficult situations, that we use that poem also as a showcase of how UPSA has been able to, in its small way, come out of some very interesting situations in which we found ourselves in the past.
Some scrapes, huh?
Yes.
Every institution has those. Every institution has those.
We do.
Before we get into the rest of the program, the dates, the time, and all of that, I also noticed that, well, you have quite a lot to celebrate. I'm just taking a look at your UPSA at a glance. Your Vice Chancellor was awarded Best CEO in Education at the Ghana CEO Vision and Awards Gala. You can talk about your Times Higher Education ratings. There's also the number of academic programs which have increased by 47% since 2017.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that. And it is indeed true. You are growing at such an exponential rate. What is going on in the UPSA? What's your secret?
Well, I think we have to start with our Vice Chancellor, who has an abundance of energy, and he just keeps going. And I think what drives him also is the looking out there and what the needs are in terms of the youth, in terms of the Ghana's growth and what programs will be able to meet the growth. And he believes that UPSA is a professional institution and has a great role to play. Maybe not great, but an important role to play. And that starts with grooming and training and educating our youth. And so from that standpoint, that I believe is what's driving the number of programs that we have. And we also wanted to grow our doctoral programs, which we didn't have initially. So we've been able to also do that in this process. We also have new programs in communication. Communication was not a program that we had a lot of degrees in the past. We do now have an MBA in corporate communications. We do just got an MPhil in digital communications, I think, and also an MBA in digital communications. So onward and upwards, I think, where UPSA is concerned.
I got interestingly, a lot of people don't know that I got a postgraduate certificate from the UPSA in forensic and investigative psychology. I was part of the first batch. Yeah, this is many years ago. This was like 2014, 2015.
Well, we'll come back to you for alumni dues.
If I want to start paying, I'll pay everywhere. But we also know 4 of your alumni topped the Deloitte Ghana Graduate Academy 2022 trainee program. A bit about that? That's quite an exploit.
It is. I mean, it's something that we celebrated a lot on campus, and it's something that I think we are very proud of. Our students are stars. They come to our campus, some of them green, and they leave amazingly ready to tackle this world that we're all into right now. So we're very proud of those 4 students, and we wish them all the best.
I'm just looking as well before we get ready to wrap. The 20,131 students that you have, I'm just looking at it because the more established, so to speak, I mean, the University of Ghana, KNUST have been around for so many more decades. But 20,131 is quite a number looking at the pressure on our tertiary institutions in terms of applications and then in terms of the shrink when it comes to acceptance because of a lack of accommodation facilities, lecture facilities, and all of that. How is the UPSA handling that? When I pass by your stretch, I see your hostels, your new establishments. Is that the trick? Is that how you're handling all of this?
Well, we have 2 hostels that are coming up and should be ready. One is already ready, so we have 2 now, and a third one will be ready hopefully by the end of this year. If you also pass by the campus, you've seen the 2 twin towers that we're twin tower building, 10-story buildings that are connected.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they're going to be classroom buildings.
I see.
Mainly focused on, really to address the growth in numbers that we are seeing. But we also, you know, like all universities, have blended teaching due to the COVID. So that's also
So it's a hybrid teaching environment,
That's also
partly virtual, partly physical.
Partly, and I think all institutions are doing that right now. I think eventually we'll all go back to physical, but for now, easing people into coming back, we still have some semblance of some hybrid situation taking place, more physical than not, but that also helps with managing the numbers.
Okay, so let's talk about the core program. We know that the keynote speaker is going to be His Eminence Peter Cardinal Appiah Turkson, and we know what he's going to be talking about as well. Tragic of the common, leadership for the common good. How do we get there? Of course, we have our expectations, but walk us through what else we can expect on the program, and maybe we can also get to know when this is happening and where as well.
So this will happen November 9th, which is Wednesday,
right.
at 10 a.m., and we're asking our guests to be seated between 9 and 9:30.
Okay.
It will be happening on our campus at the Dr. Kofi Ohene-Konadu Auditorium. The program we're keeping very tight because it's not one with a lot of superfluous things. The speaker is really our focus. Exactly, the speakers are focused. So we try to keep it really targeted and focused on what we are all there for, to listen to what His Eminence has to say. So I think all of us need to be appreciative of the fact that he found time in his schedule to really attend.
He's a very busy man.
He is, to really attend this, and we are grateful, and we do hope that a lot of people will come out there and listen to what he has to say. He's one of those proud stars of Ghana. We're very proud of him, and we are looking forward to the words of wisdom and nuggets that he'll provide to us on that day.
For those of you who don't have a profile of him, I mean, there's so much we could say, but he has been chairman of the Ghana chapter of the Conference of Religions for Peace, 2003 to 2007, the Ghana National Peace Council, 2006 to 2010, and of course, how can you miss this one? On October 24, 2009, he was nominated President of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, a position he occupied for a long time. Maybe we'll just talk about the sponsors, and we're right in the thick of things.
Yes.
Joy 99.7 yes. FM, Joy News, Joy Prime, Joy Online, myjoyonline.com, Joy Business, Joy Entertainment, Joy Sports, and Hits 103.9 FM. All of us powering this enterprise. We're large and in charge, as always. Having said all of that, is it open to the general public?
Yes.
Is it, I mean, give us the scenario.
Yes, so these programs are open to the general public. Of course, we'll have members of the UPSA family, but it's primarily a national event. That's how we bill it. So everyone is welcome to attend. You don't need to RSVP. If you want to RSVP, you can send an email to events@upsamail.edu.gh. But otherwise, you're all welcome to attend. And as I mentioned, everybody should please be seated between 9 and 9:30. We would like to start it on time, and we would like to make sure that people get the most out of the
right, but there will be some limits, assuming your hall gets full.
Well, our hall is about 3,000. We can sit 3,500. So I'm pretty sure we'll be okay.
You'll be okay.
I'm pretty sure.
All right. So you just heard, it's open to all of us. If you want to attend, you actually can attend. Just show up on Wednesday. Be there between 9 and 9:30 a.m. Of course, at 10 on the dot, according to the program, this will start. And the keynote speaker is His Eminence Peter Cardinal Appiah Turkson. Final words? As Ghanaians anticipate this, august event, what can they look forward to on Wednesday?
Well, I think that we all need to come together and hear what His Eminence has to say. This is a time where everybody needs something to hold on to. And I'm very sure that in addition to holding on and hanging on to his every word, he'll be able to provide us with practical information that we'll be able to use in our everyday lives. So everyone is welcome. We hope to see you all on Wednesday at 9:30. At the Dr. Kofi Ohene-Konadu Auditorium on the UPSA campus. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure hosting you. Thank you so much for coming, and we can wish you the very best on this day as you organize this fourth one. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Right. Okay.
You've had Dr. Ibn Chambers, you've had former President Kufuor, you've had Otumfuo Assedu, and now His Eminence Peter Cardinal Appiah Turkson.
Yes.
Wow, what a list.
Thank you.
What a list.
Thank you.
Dr. Korio Enim Wright is Registrar for the University of Professional Studies, Accra. She joined me for this conversation. It's been refreshing. Yes, we need that new pep when it comes to leadership in our country. But moving on from there, we're going to be interacting with you on what you've been sharing with us via social media and what your thoughts are on the issues, the discussions we've been having today. We'll activate the phone lines as well with Mapito CBD. Mind you, today we've been looking at the Kumi Preko demonstration and the outcome of it. We've had Professor Kwejo Epiaje-Etua, who joined the conversation. He had his own very interesting thoughts on this matter. He feels government is doing a lot of engaging in PR gimmicks rather than solving problems. We had in the studio Paul Gray-Boachidankwa, who is basically the government spokesperson on governance and security. We also had Adib Sani, who was there. He's a security analyst, but he partook in the demonstration, sharing their thoughts. On the back of that, we also had our conversation on education and how some of these unions are saying, no, we don't want the new Director General. He's not a teacher, and we don't want him. What are your thoughts on these matters as far as anything else emanating from the economy? Share with us after the break with Mapito CBD. Do stay.
It's now time for my favorite segment of the AIM show, and that's where I get to talk to you guys on the phone lines and also see what you've been saying on our Facebook page. If you want to join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, we are JoyNews on TV. But let me tell you about staying safe and ensuring that all safety precautions are taken both at home and work, and it is not by chance. It requires a conscious effort from everyone. Now, the National Intermines First Aid and Safety Competition is here again, and winners of the zonal competitions, Ghana Manganese Company, Perusa's Mining Ghana Limited, Golden Star Wassa Resources, and Goldfields Ghana Takwa Mines will battle it out at the national level this Sunday, 6 November 2022 at 11 a.m. It will be broadcast live on GTV and JoyNews, and students from the host communities will also participate in an essay competition. Winners of the essay contest will be rewarded at the Ghana Mining Industry Awards to be held on 2nd December 2022. The competition is designed to demonstrate knowledge in mining regulations and first aid measures in times of accidents, both at home and work. Choose to stay safe and not live by chance. This message is brought to you by the Ghana Chamber of Mines in collaboration with the Minerals Commission and St. John Ambulance Ghana, and endorsed by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. let me tell you about a fun-packed weekend that awaits you this and every Sunday on Joy Prime as we thrill you into an awesome experience with the latest and most captivating quiz show, Step Up, and the most loved cookery show for kids, The Big Chef. Tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. for The Big Chef to experience our contestants prepare cuisines as they compete for the ultimate prize of 10,000 Ghana cedis and unbelievable prices from sponsors. And your day cannot end without watching Step Up at 7:30 p.m. Make time to watch contestants meet host and DJ George Quay and Mercury Quay respectively to dance their way through answering interesting questions to win a whopping sum of 5,800 Ghana cedis plus a fun trip to Dubai. Every week comes with doses of surprises in the Big Chef kitchen and on Step Up as contestants display their exceptional culinary skills, knowledge on various subjects, and viewers at home can also win some prizes on Step Up. Stay glued to Joy Prime for the double dose every Sunday at 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. for the ultimate experience on the Big Chef and Step Up. Step Up is brought to you by Glovo and Adansi Travels, and the Big Chef is kindly brought to you by Fortune Rice, Frytol Sunflower Oil, Indomie, Top Choco, Flora Tissues, Low Price Masters, Sankofa Natural Spices, City Blood Tonic, Perk Biscuits, and Karen Mouthwash. Now let's hear from you guys. What have you been saying on our Facebook page? We're gonna start with this post that we put up where President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will lead Ghana's delegation of climate negotiators to this year's 27th Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC, which is the COP27. And we've been having a lot of reactions because, as we all know, the situation in Ghana and how the forests are looking, the water bodies are looking. And Martin says, oh my Galamsey hub, what are we going to tell the world about our landscape? Deforestation, polluted water bodies due to Galamsey and sanitation. I don't know what data is President having to prove to the world about his efforts in storing our environmental sustainability. As a Ghanaian, I'm very sad and worried about the things our leaders are about to display at the summit. Maxwell says, Galamsey chairman to lead climate change? Well, he is asking. Alex Wise Don says he shouldn't go there and disgrace us. Okay. Aaron Musa says, which climate? Rice or Gobe? Have your say also on by calling us 030-221-1691. You can also, share your thoughts on the Kumi Preku Reloaded demonstration that happened over the weekend. Were you there? If not, why weren't you there? Is the economy not affecting you like we are all saying it is? But let's go to Kumasi and see what Frank has to say. Frank, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my dear. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you.
Yeah. It was unfortunate I was not there, but I'll still have my say this morning.
Sure.
We don't know what is actually going on in this country and what we have done wrong to this government. Even common marijuana, that is that we used to buy at 2 cedis per row, is now 5 cedis. Why? We can't even enjoy ourselves in our own country. So if they don't want us to stay here again, they should tell us there is too much hardship in the country. Even apeteshi that we used to buy at 1 Ghana cedi.
So, Frank, are you aware that marijuana is legal in Ghana?
We do it underground, so you don't worry.
Yeah, but it is still illegal, and you know that if you get caught, you might be taken to jail. And we don't promote illegal stuff on our channel. So thank you very much, Frank. Right. Let's go to Wale Wale. From Wale Wale is Masiru. Masiru, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, let's share your thoughts on any of the conversations we've had so far.
I'm just going to speak about the appointment of the GS director.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is 2 things or 3 things that I figure out from it. One, it's just a disrespect, and then the president also taking the teachers for granted.
Yeah.
How can you go and pick? Can he, as a lawyer, agree for a teacher to come and head their institution? Can he take it as a lawyer?
Yeah.
So it is an insult to we the teachers.
Okay.
So the second thing is that the president is now telling us that he has gotten what he wants. You go wherever and speak shit to us as a Ghanaians.
Sorry, your language. Mind your language.
Yeah, just look at what is going on. You can imagine what is just going on. Wherever you go, you say whatever you want.
Okay. Let's go to Bolga. Samuel is calling us from Bolga. Good morning, Samuel.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, so share your thoughts on any of the conversations we've had, or also what's happening on social media. Over the weekend, we had the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration.
Good morning.
Yeah,
How
good
are you?
morning. I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Fine.
All right, your thoughts? Yeah, Samuel, your thoughts?
Yes.
Samuel?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so
Yes.
what I need you to do is that turn down the volume of your television set and use your phone, okay?
All right, let me put it. Yes.
Samuel? All right, okay. So when you call us, please turn down the volume of your television set. I know you want to hear your lovely voice, but I'd rather you not, because it interrupts our conversation. But let's go back to Facebook and see what you guys have been saying on President Akufo-Addo leading the delegation to COP27. Douglas says it is going to be cosmetic because our environment is degraded, polluted, and abused in every form and is seen by the world by satellite. And even if we don't take care, our exports can be rejected as we are being told. Yeah, why are we lost in everything and everything that we do? Our environment is uninspiring and nothing seems not to be doing well at all. Why, he's asking. Rex says, how can a naked man offer someone a dress when the president cannot even solve galamsey that has devastated his own backyard, lead a delegation in climate change? Is it a mockery, he's asking? Okay. Atukuma says, so these people didn't hear what majority of the ordinary Ghanaian is saying. Hashtag step aside. And Gidfu says, please, Mr. President, can you just stop wasting the little loan we have left as a country? All right. That's what people are saying on social media. Let us come back to Accra and in La Paz. Johnson, good morning. Did we lose Johnson? Okay, it seems like we lost Johnson. So we want to know your thoughts on what happened during the weekend. There was the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration. Were you there? If not, why weren't you there? And if you were there, how did it go? How was your experience on the ground? We also have some other stories trending on our social media page. You can also go to myjoyonline.com. Join the conversation. JoyNews on TV with the hashtag AM Show. You can also tweet at me. It is princess_PITSO. Tweet at me. I'd like to hear your thoughts. 030-2211-691. 030-2211-692 is the number to dial. All right. Let's go to Nana Ajiman Dankwa, who says, the finest president Ghana has ever had, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We are proud of you. Maverick says, how can I say a country lead in this regard? Okay. Conlands, Kwabena Stevens says, everything he wants to go. What kind of president is this? He will charter private jets for the country, for this journey. William up here says, charity begins at home. And then the rest of the world, just stay home and solve your galamsey issues first. This trip will be another waste of money and time. Edward, good morning. Edward, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yeah, so where are you calling us from?
Yes, I'm calling from the Northeast.
Okay, sure. What are your thoughts on any of the stories we've discussed so far?
Well, we will not agree to allow any other profession to come and lead us as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wouldn't even look good if what I call a teacher is sent to the nursing aspect to lead the nursing delegation. It won't be good.
Mm.
So it's just good they will get a profession from our own side to lead the nursing delegation for us.
So, Edward, you're a teacher?
Yes, I'm a teacher, of course.
Okay, and then so you feel like, but what if there's another school of thought that says that, I mean, if he can do the job, then why not let him?
Well, this is about implementation of policy, but not about...
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay, so that is Edward from the North. Captain Biko from Pig Farm. Captain, good morning. Captain? Okay, it seems like that ship has sunk. You can go to...
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Captain Biko.
Yes. I want to comment on the demonstration, on the demonstration.
Sure.
You see, I've lived long enough to see...
Captain, if you mind, can you please, if you don't mind, can you please speak up?
I've lived long enough to see different types of demonstrations. I saw the original demonstration, the demonstration.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, if you compare that to this demonstration, you could see a vast difference. Now, what called for that demonstration is not what is calling for this demonstration. Now, it is how do you call on the president to resign just because there is a crisis? The president has admitted that yes, there is a crisis, and he's finding solutions to the crisis. So why did the leaders say that president resign? No, I think that the pressure should be that.
You think that the pressure should be where?
President, we want more solutions, so come out with more pragmatic solutions so we can support you. But if you take to the street and say, Mr. President, you should resign, how many people are going to join this?
Okay. Captain Biko thinks that there was, or says that there was a vast difference from the original Kupreko demonstration and the Kupreko reloaded. He thinks that we shouldn't be calling, or they shouldn't be calling on the president to resign. Let's go to Akuse. Akuse, calling from Akuse is Steve. Steve, good morning.
Madam, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Steve.
Please, I'm a tutor myself.
Okay.
This is about actually implementation of what we have.
Yeah.
And so we want it to be done in that food. We cannot lie low again while they will be imposing whoever they like on us.
Okay.
We are professionals, and I think the ranks are there. Let them go through the ranks. We actually back our leadership 100%.
Yeah.
And we are waiting to hear from what will happen this afternoon. Okay. That is what I have to say about this matter.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. Before we go to Obuase, I just want to, go to our Facebook page, Kupreko Reloaded demonstration. More calls for President and VIP to resign over worsening economic conditions. Were you at the demonstration? If not, why not? If you were, how was it? Do you think that it will change anything? Let's go to Nana, who says the poor turnout at the demonstration signifies one or two things, in my opinion. Let's hear what your opinion says. People are hungry, but they also see through the lies and manipulations of political actors who would want to take advantage of the situation to finish us quarter. Okay. People also understand the global nature of the problem. We also see that most of the problems have been compounded by evil actors in our markets and politics. Lastly, we understand that the solution is not in the boy, or even a change in leadership, but a collective and concerted effort from everyone. Thinker Eunice says, I don't think asking them for resignation is the best way, and that can happen in Africa. They should have been hammering on them to sit up and change things for the better. Let's go to Obuase. Richard, good morning. Richard?
Yeah, how are you, Mark?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm a teacher, and I would like to say something about the strike.
Sure.
Yeah, I really commend the leadership of the trade unions for their action. Yeah, they're really fighting for us. But one thing I want to suggest is that anytime there is a strike action like this, they should communicate to the members in person via circular or something, or by some digital means.
Okay.
The declaration on the media alone is not enough, because there are some head teachers who only adhere to instructions from the district education office. If the strike is declared and the district director of education has not ordered them to adhere to the strike, they will still open schools. So as we speak, there are some schools which are still open because the head teachers are claiming they have not received any official communication from the district education directorate. So the unions, anytime there's a strike like this, should liaise with the education office so that they can also communicate with the head teachers. And then again, I want to also suggest that the issue under consideration for which the strike was declared, that is about the Director General, it's okay, but I was expecting that the unions will consider the current economic situation, or in fact, the 15% given to us. For now, it's nothing to write home about. It didn't really have any effect. Looking at the situation we find ourselves in, because after the 15%, I tell you that things kept skyrocketing. In fact, the price of goods and services is really dealing with us, and we've had about 100% increment after the 15%, and in fact, it hasn't had any effect. It's almost useless. The 15% given to us as COLA, the cost of living allowance, is almost useless. So I'm urging the teacher unions to add that to the conditions on which they are declaring the strike.
Okay.
Yes, because something really needs to be done. We are really suffering. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Let's go to our last caller, William in Saboba. William, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, madam.
Yeah, so any thoughts of the conversations that we've had? We've also spoken about the Kumipreko Reloaded demonstration, which took place over the weekend.
Yes, I'm a teacher and I want to comment on the appointment of the DG.
Sure.
Yes, in fact, we are in full support of the actions of our union leaders. I think that I am a young teacher and I'm aspiring one day to be the Director General of Ghana Education Service.
Okay.
So I see no reason why a banker should be appointed to head the Ghana Education Service. If for anything at all, we all know where we have challenges in this country. One of the biggest problems we are facing in this country is coming from our Ministry of Finance. And so if the man is so good enough, if Dr. Nkansa is so good enough, why wouldn't they appoint him to the Finance Ministry or the Bank of Ghana, where we have crisis? Okay. And so I think that the president should revoke his appointment. And I want to send a message to the PRO of the GES. His posture is not good enough. At least if you are negotiating with people to buy into your idea, you don't speak with arrogance.
Yeah.
And so if he's listening, he should please tone down, because we are not ready to accept any trash from him.
Yeah.
He should know that if at the end of the day we disagree with this man, he will not achieve whatever that they are bringing him to come and achieve.
Yeah.
He should talk to us with dignity. With all due, I don't know his background, but I am a teacher by profession. I'm a professional trained teacher, and I'm aspiring one day to be called the DG of Ghana Education Service. So why should they bring a banker to come and head us?
Sure.
Please, they should do something about that appointment with immediate effect, with all due respect.
All right, thank you.
The ministry is facing a whole lot of challenges.
Sure. All right, so that is William. Thank you very much, William. Benjamin joins me in the studio. Benjamin, a lot of teachers have, spoken about this, and they are in support.
It appears the teachers are in support of this move.
Are in support of the three unions. I mean, like William just said, that he wants to be the Director General one time, or he is hoping to be Director General someday, and he doesn't understand why a banker, accountant, or a lawyer, or someone who is not in the profession would, take up that seat. So a lot of the teachers I spoke to are quite are in support of it and are very upset at what is happening.
Well, they're calling for the powers that be to listen. But it's been interesting today, the conversations that we've had, the different dimensions of the conversations that we've had, and the views that people have shared.
Yeah.
It's been really refreshing.
It's been really refreshing.
I should be saying it's been quite a welcome back on the AM show. After a few weeks of hiatus, you ran away for a few weeks.
I didn't run away due to unforeseen circumstances, and
beyond your control.
Yeah, as an industry player, an international industry player, I had my plate very full. So
well, we understand.
Yeah, you have to. You have no choice. I mean, come on. And
let's just do this before we go. So Adol Kluche sends in a message. She says, "Happy birthday to my mom."
Okay.
Gladys Tetega of the Hannah School Complex. She's 61 today. Why this is so touching is that she said, ironically, she lost her dad on the same day 12 years ago. So today is her mother's birthday, Gladys Tetega of the Hannah School Complex. We celebrate your life. And that's from Adol Kluche and from those of us here in the studio.
Talking about birthdays.
You have one.
I have one. And the whole of Ghana has one.
Oh.
Yes. It's the finance minister's birthday.
Oh, you mean Eja Ken Oforiatta? Today is his birthday. How could that?
It's his.
We wish him well as he deals with the IMF
and he heads the economic management team, and we're very hopeful that God will hear the prayers of Ghanaians for you on your wonderful birthday, Mr. Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta. And that is how we end the AM show, Benjamin. It's been a fantastic day. It hasn't been a blue Monday, it's been a black Monday.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing.
I don't know whether we should, because we didn't plan doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow we will actually plan it. But from those of us here in the studio, it's been fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Up next, we have Joy News Desk. Stay tuned, get all the information.